there. I got the Diesel show on there. Back when it was Diesel, I was the first rap show there. It fucking did shit. It was me and DMC were the first rap performances to ever do that venue. It was crazy how that goes. History. So much history. How old are you now?
36.
Young boy. I'm 39 now.
Yeah, you're gonna be 40, man.
I know.
It's good.
It is. It's fucking crazy, actually.
That's how the wisdom comes, experience.
That's what it's all about.
I think, anyway.
It is for sure. And if you're in a place where it's like, you know, you can utilize that, you'll be good. That's why I don't have any kids.
Yeah, well, everybody learns eventually. Some the hard way.
I don't think having kids is a bad thing. I just think that, you know, sometimes you can be a psycho like me, you know?
Do you think that we first met at the H-Con, or do you think it was like...
Let me ask you, did you go to the Bone Thugs and Harmony show the first time they came in 2006? That was right before they opened up the H-Con, because that's pretty much when everything started.
So...
2005, I'm sorry, it was December 2005. That's when everything started.
At Smalls?
Yeah, at Smalls. Because Kelly Mays found a way to bring in national acts and have finally a pipeline for local artists to go ahead and open up and get some clout. So that's what she did. And she chose the first couple of artists to do that. And, you know, Basic was one of them. I was one of them. You know, there's a couple of different people.
Right. So Basic was opening for Bone on that show with Marcus, right? It was like Marcus and...
I don't remember. I know MH the Verb was
Ryan.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we recording right now?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. I didn't even know. I'm just like, we're just talking shit. I thought we were still sound checking. Yeah. Yeah, MH the Verb was on that show.
Well, then I was
Omar
definitely
Abdul,
there because I was
Omar
DJing.
Abdul. There was two of them. I remember there was two. So we did Bone Thugs twice, but they both were like big deals at that time.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember how good they sounded. I remember the sound at Smalls has always been incredible. I was just there for the Atmosphere show. I just felt like it sounds, and honestly, it's so much better now because they did all the soundproofing in the roof.
I was going to
It
say
used
they
to be
changed
mad
the
boomy.
venue up a lot. Yeah, they changed the venue up a lot. I really liked what they did with the bar. You know, they've moved it over. They've got two stages now. I haven't seen the second stage yet, but I heard the second stage is actually like really awesome too. So Smalls is killing it.
Wow, how did I already finish that first one?
I'm pretty much done too with my first one. So
I guess
he's watching that cartoon, you know. So happy to get fucked up.
Holy shit, that's such an incredible project! Wow, and nobody's seen any of it. Literally, just I have.
Nobody officially. This is actually the first interview. I'm gonna tell you the truth. This is the first interview I've done about it. So you got first dibs. You know, I haven't done any press about it. I haven't even actually told the city what the fuck I'm doing. So, but that's because look at what we've seen. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at what we've watched as we, you know, came up. Like, we watched. Thank you for that, sir. We've watched people almost make a reputation off of, you know, big things coming. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I don't believe in that at all. Yeah,
No.
that pre-selling
Well,
shit. I feel like everybody knows.
But
That's
coming
just-
up in Pittsburgh, it's like you almost had to, you know, like that was almost like a thing because nobody would be interested in anything you were doing unless you had some sort of like hype about it. You know, we watch people back in the day. It's not so much like that now, but back in the old days, it used to be different. They used to hate everything.
Wow.
Yeah, they used to hate everything, and it was always like,
wait,
you
but
know,
dude, you do voices, and your characters in the animation don't have voices?
No, but I do voices on other people's animations. So, like, I actually just got my first IMDb credit yesterday for doing voice acting on a CGI movie. So that was pretty cool. I don't know. Just doing all kinds of shit right now, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can do like the old man shit. Like I said, we hate pre-selling, but God, I have to just talk about it a little bit. So
Talk about it.
the character to me is the strongest element.
You're talking about my project,
Right.
what you just watched.
Right.
So that's A Wicked Tale, Act 1 you just watched.
A Wicked Tale.
Mm-hmm.
And
we've got it split into 3 acts because, you know, it costs a lot of fucking money. That's honestly why. Like, I would have done, if I could have, I would have done everything all at once. But, you know, to try to do such a massive fucking undertaking like this and then do it without the backing of like a studio or anything like that, you know, it's pretty much, I just haven't seen that.
what parts are you doing? So what parts are you handling and what parts are you farming out?
So basically the way it started off was it was supposed to be a trumpet album. I have a horn player that is a very well-known horn player here. His name is Ian Gordon. I don't know if you've heard of him. So he's done a lot of jazz shows here. He's been on Poogie Bell's albums. He's played a lot of gigs here. So He happened to be somebody that I had hired in the past for a couple of gigs, and came to me and was like, "Hey, I got a couple of melodies and shit. I can't get them out of my head. They're not really songs though." He's like, "I don't really have they're not songs. They're not arranged. They're not composed into whole pieces. I just want to get these melodies out and do a project." And we had done a project. We had done a song, 2 songs back in 2010, right? When I did a song I tried to submit a couple of beats to Freeway back then. So that was interesting, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's a whole nother story. But anyway.
Freeway came up on the podcast recently because he doesn't rhyme. So it's kind of like what Koofnots does.
What do you mean he doesn't rhyme?
I introduced Koof. Yeah, but not all the time. Like he'll just take a bar and intentionally not rhyme it.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, he did.
It's in order.
Beanie Siegel did that too, didn't he?
I was doing some research on this topic because there's not a name for it. Like
it's like a Philly thing, right?
Right. That's what I've come to terms with, but it's playing with people's expectations. That was the ultimate determination when we were talking with Koof about it, because he made the case that he's not a big bar god. He's not a big punchline rapper, so he'll say a rhyming word, and then he'll mess with people's expectations by not rhyming it. Basically,
where that's really popular is Britain, British slang. Sorry, I took that. I took the fucking T out like British. No.
It took the T out like a Brit. That's a punchline right there.
There you go. See? Woo. All over. Good thing I don't rap anymore. But fucking what I was saying is that, in Britain, they do that where they subvert the expectations. And that's about how clever you can be. So all their slang is words that actually rhyme with the slang, with the word they're actually trying to say, but they don't say that word. They say just another fucking word, It's weird as hell. It's fun.
Well, the grime is incredible. I've been loving it. Tiny Tempa was the original, and then who's the guy who did Konichiwa? Skepta just murdered. Actually, my buddy just sent me the set list for 3 Points in Miami, and I remember seeing Skepta with my wife in Miami and just the mosh pit.
But you saw Skepta live?
Yeah, he came to Miami for 3 Points a couple years ago.
Damn, I didn't know that. Yeah, Skepta blew up. I think it was that time. That was actually when he came to the States and was finally blowing up big. But,
How did you get into rap?
How did I get into rap? Fuck. Shit. Fuck. That was, 3rd grade. Yeah, that was 3rd grade. 3rd grade in New Jersey. No, it was before that shit. So I was in 2nd grade in New Jersey. That's when rap was big. Crisscross came out when I was in 2nd grade. That's what happened. I saw that shit and was like, "Oh yeah, I could do that." You know what I mean? It was just, you're a little kid, you see little kids doing shit you do, and you're like, "Yeah, that's the cool shit." So, I was doing that. I was doing a little bit of breakdancing back then, just 2nd grade. So, hanging out with the kids, Puerto Ricans and black kids there in my neighborhood back then. We were all just dancing and fucking shit up and rapping. And then I moved to fucking Pennsylvania, 3rd grade. And that was what came out during that time. Jermaine Dupri was the biggest producer at the time. He got bigger then, but people don't really give him a lot of credit for the stuff he did in the 90s. Are you even aware of all that? He did all that crisscross shit. That was it's just a big money thing.
Where was Jermaine Dupri based out of?
Oh, fuck, man. You're going to kill me. He's down south. It was...
Was he one of the Virginia dudes? Like Timberland? Or no?
I don't know. I know Timbo and Pharrell are from Virginia. I'm not sure. I should.
And Missy.
Those are their artists.
And D'Angelo. Hampton Roads is one of the most incredible places for music in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
That's crazy. But yeah, so rap music, long story short, I've always been into it since I was a little kid, and then fucking gangster rap came out and that was the big thing, you're in 4th grade and fucking Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style is the biggest thing, and Dre, and then the changes, the sound.
96.
Yeah, no, it wasn't 96.
Doggy Style
93.
Doggy Style 96, I thought.
No, 93, man. I was there.
And so you're 6 years old.
Yeah.
No. 10.
It was something like that.
10, 11, whatever.
7, some shit like that.
Where in Jersey did you?
No. So Jersey was just I was in Dover. That was just for a year. We used to move around.
Delaware?
All the time. No, it was Dover, New Jersey. 07801. It's a real fucking place. Check it out. It's crazy. But it's great.
What were you doing bouncing around? What was your childhood like?
My mother, she was working for a telecommunications company. She owned a fashion company. Did that for a while. Worked in movies and shit, doing fashion set. So just moved around a lot like that. Till we ended up in Pittsburgh. Originally, the family was from Glassport, you know, so both the black and white side of my family are from Glassport. So that story is just kind of like nuts. So I guess the blood's from Glassport.
Where's Glassport?
Glassport's outside of Pittsburgh. It's a small town that used to be a what was it, glass, obviously.
Right,
Yeah,
right. I
glass.
know Pittsburgh is big for that.
Yeah,
The glass manufacturing was actually before the steel. People don't realize that. The glass was really what made Pittsburgh Pittsburgh.
so my family came over in 1903. My Czechoslovakian and Italian side, they were over here in 1903. So that's about when Glassport was founded. And my great grandfather helped build a lot of those houses and worked in the steel mills. So straight Pittsburgh shit. You know, the black side of my family was also there, and they, I guess they had come up from North Carolina, you know, Raleigh, and you know,
The Great Migration.
yeah, and fucking, you know, ended up here working in steel mills also, and so I guess that's just how the whole town thing developed, you know, and then I was the scandal, so we ended up getting the fuck out of there. It's the whole thing,
What do you mean?
just the whole thing, like. You know, times have changed, but you think about racism now and how things used to be back then. You know, you think about the 80s and small white town, you know, where there's only like one or two black families. And then, you know, you've got, like, you just have this whole situation where you've got the black drug dealer of the town fucking, you know, impregnating the supposedly like nice white girl who's from a nice family on the other side of town, that whole thing. And then it's a scandal and blah, blah, blah. You end up with my ass. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, but you asked about that. I don't need to be talking about that shit. Ooh, get the Pilsner's coming, boy. Let's go.
So you got involved in hip hop really early, and eventually, like when you got to Pittsburgh, you already had some of those talents. But
Yeah.
how did you
So you end up-
carve out a lane for yourself? Like, how did you
So that didn't
decide
come
to
till, like,
take your art seriously?
later. So let's talk about that. So let's talk about high school, right? So high school, I went to a creative and performing arts high school. Was always able to, like, you know, just blend in out different things. I could sing, I could act, I could write, I could do a bunch of different shit. So I was fortunate enough to go there. And while I was there, I had friends that, you know, when you go there, it's not just like a neighborhood based type of thing. So you have people from all over the city that. Are you listening? All right, cool. Yeah. You got people from all over the city that go there. So you have friends that you're not stuck with people in your neighborhood and things like that, you know? So we would go to these shows. And consequently, there was a guy, and I'm going to drop names throughout all this because it's important. There was a guy named Mike Tuns. Do you know that name?
No,
Okay,
I don't
so-
think so. Was he like involved
Mike
in
Tanzer.
clubs?
Mike Tanzer, aka Mike Tuns. He was our age at the time when I was in high school, but he fucking started a record label. And like, I'm talking like we were 15 and this fucking kid had a record label. You know what I'm saying? Like 15, 16, 17. This kid had a record label and he was running the fuck out of it. He had an artist, like he had artists and everything, and like they were fucking dope. And so there was a rap group called the Deadly Scribes. And they are, have you ever heard of them?
Deadly Scribes.
Deadly Scribes, historic rap group here in PGH, right?
Nope.
Because what happened was there wasn't really, like there was a couple different scenes, right? There was
I know Strict Flow
Strict Flow, right? They were doing a college circuit. They were older than all of us at the
and
time.
Company Flow.
That sounds familiar.
I think there's both, but I know
that sounds
Strict Flow.
familiar. That sounds familiar.
Like
Company.
whatever Select was involved with.
Yeah.
EMI.
Email, yeah.
Yeah,
Pencil
Email,
Cynic Cup and all that
Quiva,
stuff.
and
So that's what I was gonna say. So Shadow Lounge was the scene. That was
right.
where it was.
That's
all going
probably
down.
how we
So-
met. I think.
Was it?
Yeah, I
Was
think
it
we
that
probably
long
met
ago?
at the lounge. Yeah.
That's long. That's long. That's like even earlier than 2005.
Well, I got
like
here in
2000
2005.
Okay,
But
so no,
Kind of before because I was
I was
going
at
to
the
Club Zoo
lounge.
in like 2003, 4.
I was at the lounge in 2001, like the year 2000,
Wow.
2001, 2002. Like I used to like be hanging in the lounge heavy.
Were you on
Yeah.
stage rapping? Or?
No, you know, I didn't know how to fucking freestyle back then. I wanted to learn. And so they had people there. There was a lot of breakdancing going on. Let's talk about that scene. So there was the record label. That was a big deal. It was called Red Tape Productions. And what he was doing was throwing a lot of independent shows and things like that. And then they had the scene that was the Shadow Lounge. So that was Pencils in the Cup. So you got Email Aquiva, along with Achilles Soon and Selecta and like all these other guys that were like the big names there. And they had the venue. And they had a guy named Kenny Intellect, and I'll drop Kenny Intellect because he was kind of older than all of us. He was like the best breakdancer. He was the best fucking MC, and he was like the guy running the fucking scene back then until he moved out of town. And like he would teach a lot of the youth, a lot of us high schoolers, how to fucking kick it. You know what I'm saying? So we would have ciphers in the Shadow Lounge in like 2001, you know, crazy shit like that.
Cypress Hill.
No, ciphers.
Ciphers. Got it.
Ciphers. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. That was eventually became rhyme calisthenics.
You know, I'm not sure if it did because Stretch, you know, like all these things. I don't know. It's just Pittsburgh was a scene that wanted to become. You know, it was like void. You know, like there were people that bubbled. So there was Mailman that popped before everybody. You know, Dr. Dre came here. He started Aftermath. He picked up Mailman. He picked up Butta. He picked up fucking Sam Snead. He picked up, you know, Kaz Lamar that ended up out there with them. There's a bunch of other people. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just so much that happened at that time. But as far as underground hip hop goes, like I said, it was for me. It was just the Shadow Lounge was really the thing. That was like the biggest thing. And then from there, like you said, came everything else. But Rhyme Calisthenics ended up 2009, 10, maybe something like that.
Can't be that late.
Was it?
Because I saw Mac do Rhyme Cal, and
I saw
he
Mac
hadn't
there.
popped. It
He
was
was
like
15.
2007, 2008.
Was it
probably.
2007, 8? Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was during the time when the Hip Hop Buffet series was going on. Because Button Pusher had a whole thing. So the Shadow Lounge was the home for the whole hip hop scene, and that's where I ended up at. And so like eventually,
R.I.P.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
Well,
Shadow Lounge.
yeah,
R.I.P. East Liberty.
yeah.
Right?
It doesn't exist anymore as it
what's-
does, but now it's it's more diverse, right? Like you go there and people are
You mean
throwing
because
shows and fucking like shit. There's just people of all different cultures there, right?
in East Liberty?
Is it not? I mean, I go over there.
Bakery Square now. It's literally it's
They
just
haven't turned
Google.
all of it into Bakery Square. Bakery Square is one part of it over there, and then you go over to where the Shadow Lounge was, and
There's a giant pit. There's a hole in the ground where they put a Target and a Whole Foods, and they
Right.
buried our hip hop scene in a
They did.
fucking pit, dude.
they forced the Shadow Lounge out of there. They did.
They literally took a steam shovel. Sorry, that's old school.
No, but listen. So I guess what I'm referring to when I say that it's not is that they have the Maverick over there. So they're doing a lot of different like diverse shit over there. That's right around the corner from the Shadow Lounge.
Okay, and the bridges.
Got to
the
shout
bridge.
out to Ivan Row House for that. The bridge.
Bridge is
also,
hard.
They're doing a bunch
Yeah,
of shit
cool
over there.
electronic music.
Yeah, well, I've seen R&B shows there.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to Chris Hollis. That was dope. I've seen.
Oh, that's dope. I didn't know Chris Hollis was here.
Yeah,
Cool.
Chris Hollis was there. I've
Yeah.
seen there's jazz shows there. There's all kinds of shit there. So when I say it's a little bit diverse now, like
Yeah.
it is.
Hey,
It is.
that's dope. I like that positivity. We've got the Jazz Festival coming up this weekend as well,
Hmm.
right here in Pittsburgh.
That's true.
Select is playing,
He's the fucking man.
and Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis.
Okay.
You're getting out of high school, and
Yeah. So you're asking how I got
you were
into
in a
hip-hop. I
performance.
was in hip-hop.
What was the performance?
No. I was in high school.
Yeah.
I was doing a bunch of shit. I was at the Shadow Lounge. I was learning how to break dance at the same time. There used to be breakdancing battles. I was in a graffiti crew at the same time. So there was Value Crew. Shout out to VK, man, Southside. Fucking, that was a whole nother story. You know, we all got arrested. September 11th happened. And then the Port Authority got funding from the government and they had nobody to practice on. So they practiced on us. So they took out our whole gang and then just proceeded to take out all the graffiti gangs. That was a whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's an amazing graffiti artist out in Pittsburgh right now, and I will not come up with the name off the top of my head, but I'll put it in the notes.
Mm.
And unbelievable talent, really like generational level talent that I've been following on Instagram. Like pieces, all pieces, really like no tags, no throw ups, just fucking unbelievable
But
pieces.
you don't know who it is.
I can't come up with the name right now, but I'll put it in the.
Because I'll tell you,
comments.
some of my favorite guys right now that aren't. Wait, so you're talking about pieces. Let's think about it. So let's think about who you're talking about. Who would fit the description of the person you're talking about with my wide knowledge of the scene? Let's think. I think, first guess, that you are talking about Giorno.
Mm-mm.
No, okay. Second guess, you're talking about Camo.
No.
Are you sure? Are you talking about the art pieces or are you talking about, do they write their name or do they do the art? Because right now,
No,
the best murals in town coming up are coming from, you're seeing Giorno doing crazy shit. You're seeing
Yep.
Camo Customs doing crazy shit. I've seen Jeremy Raymer. He's one of my favorite muralists out here, you know? As far as graffiti goes, like now that there has been outlets for this and now that it's been more accepted, I think with Baron Batch, he really helped to push the fucking line on that. You know, where it's like, no, this is art. We're going to be here. You're going to accept us. He bought a fucking warehouse. He's doing all
Yeah.
these pieces. So like,
Yeah.
that was good for the graffiti scene. So I guess I failed. Who are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put it in the notes. I really can't remember the name.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not quizzing you. The
Okay.
but just for people who probably aren't as into graffiti, my understanding, and please educate me if I'm wrong. I mean, I only had a very brief kind of what's the word? Career in Ann Arbor and surrounding areas. But uh, I think of like a tag as being the simplest form of graffiti, where you're literally just writing your name
Yeah.
in a kind of stylized manner.
It's
A
like
throw up would be like bubble letters, where
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah,
like
exactly.
some basic shading,
Exactly.
and then a piece is a much more intricate level where there's usually multiple colors.
Yep.
You're usually adding
Details.
some other elements.
Back in the day, I wasn't really that good at pieces. Honestly. I
Yeah,
wasn't.
no,
was
I
more
never
like-
did a
I
piece.
was doing bombs. I was about the anarchist
Right.
philosophy of it.
Right,
We were
right.
doing
Getting up.
destruction. We were getting ups. We were doing destruction. Our gang. We were fucking climbing bridges and doing all the wild shit. Fucking. I'm not gonna talk too much about all this.
There's
shit.
a word for a piece, or sorry, there's a word for a tag that's in a difficult to reach location that I was trying to think of just a few minutes ago.
Can't think of it.
It's like
been a long time.
It's like a.
Started writing
I'll have to put that
graffiti
in
in
there
other ways.
Yeah, I think one of the questions that I'm scared to ask a lot of the DJs that come on the show, but I think about asking them a lot, is what was your involvement with other elements of hip hop?
So that's what I'm talking about now. So yeah, so you asked about
How
why I started hip hop.
come
So let's talk about it.
You're telling me that you're a DJ,
I'm telling you that I was.
and you no, this isn't
I
for
was
you.
about to say, okay. I was about to say, like,
This
no, I'll
person-
tell you everything. This is what we're discussing right now. I swear to God.
This person I'm interviewing is telling me they're a DJ, but they were alive in the 90s. They were alive in the 2000s,
Mhm.
and they never danced. They never did breakdancing. They never wrote graffiti. They never they don't have really a connection to hip hop culture.
Well, it
Is
depends
my
on-
point.
Depends on which DJs you're talking about. You see what I'm saying? So like you got to separate. I think it's important to differentiate between the art of it and so there's like the art, there's the culture, and then there's the business of it, right? So then when you look at the business of it, it spawns something completely different than what is the culture of it, right? So then you have people that you have to, in your mind, differentiate between what is the business and what is the culture. So maybe the people you're talking about were an offshoot of the business aspect of it, whereas people
You mean they're trying to get that money? They're
just
trying to
getting the
get
money.
laid. They're trying to impress their friends. They're
Well, that's
trying to
why-
grab a Rain 1200, whatever.
Well, that's
and-
why, and you said something. I
Controller.
watched one of your previous interviews. You were interviewing Alex Rivera. Shout out Alex, man. What's up?
Shout out Alex.
Yeah, but you were talking about how you interview DJs and you asked him some of the other stuff he was doing, and he's like, "No, motherfucker, I'm a DJ," right? And that's one of my very good friends. I was on his ass about that. That's what I do. I'm like, "Yo, you're a DJ. We're DJing. We're getting you gigs. I'll fucking create the gigs. We'll get you money. Like we're gonna make you, like you're gonna do this." And I do that to all my friends. You know what I'm saying? That's how it's always
Help
been.
people focus.
Yeah, like are you?
So what's your focus?
I'm doing this. You've seen it. I've got the ritual. I've got this cartoon coming out. Like that's gonna be fucking insane. That's a business in of itself.
So the focus is on the animation.
Now at the moment,
Piece.
you have to understand. So because I feel like I just get rambly. So you have to check me, right? You do. I get rambly. You were talking about my involvement in hip hop. You're talking about the elements involved, right?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you that I was involved in all of the elements before I was ever trying to be a rapper or anything like that.
Yeah.
I came up, we were dancing, we were fucking doing graffiti like religiously. You know what I'm saying? We were doing all kinds of crazy shit. Fucking MCing was a thing. But like I just always had the ability to recognize artists that I thought were just super fucking dope, right? So like when it came to graffiti, did I want to be the greatest graffiti artist? Like, no, I wanted to be up. I wanted to have respect in my gang. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to fucking learn the philosophy of it. I wanted to absorb it. I was just in it. I was a fucked up kid.
Mhm.
That was my way out of dealing with the fucked up shit I was dealing with,
Yeah.
And, when it came to breakdancing, like that was like, it was the same shit. Like we wanted to fucking be the man. Like we wanted to fucking, fuck you, But then I would find people that were really talented. I'm like, oh, well,
So
that's the man, And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
so maybe that's your talent.
That's what happened.
Maybe
so then
that's
I
your
became
talent. You're the
so let me
connector.
tell
You're
you,
the
so let me tell
person
you,
who
let me get
knows
there. Exactly.
where
So
the
I ended
talent
up
is.
finding out that as I was developing that, the people that I would be like, oh no, that's great, that's really, they started becoming fucking everybody that I would say that to. They just blew. Like every single person, I could just notice a spark in them, right? And I'd be like, okay, well, if we just did this, and they're like, oh yeah, great idea, and then they take it and it's bang, 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 bang,
Yeah.
But then
So these are like the Yamezes and the Alex Riveras.
no, these are like the fucking. Like I'm not even gonna name drop them, you know what I'm saying? But like, let's just say I was there.
Sure.
There's other names, you know. What I'm
Wiz
saying?
and
Like,
Mac.
I'm not even gonna talk about all that. No. Let's just say there's a lot of things. There's a lot of people in many different industries that come out of Pittsburgh. It's not just rap. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm involved in, metal. I'm involved in jazz now. I'm involved in electronic music. I've done EDM. I helped, You know, whenever dubstep was not even a thing, really, like I helped that scene. You know what I'm saying? Along with the people that made that happen, like electronic music. I've been doing that forever. Like I've always just been able to lend my power to the thing, like the dream of it, you know? And it's been really fulfilling to see all of the successes. You know what I'm saying?
But you're kind of a visionary in that you see the writing on the wall. You're
So I
able
became
to
a
see
producer.
what's coming before it kind of hits.
So I became a producer because that's,
Tastemaker?
I don't call myself shit like that. But what I'm saying is that I realized that all of that could be used as a producer. So then, as an adult, I became like, as an adult, I was like 18, whatever, 17. I got into beats. And that was where everything kind of clicked for me. You know, it was like, okay, you are a great rapper, but you wanted to learn how to rap so you can deal with the rappers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you want to be the best rapper you can be, not so you can be the best rapper, but so that when the best rapper comes to you, you know what the fuck to talk about.
Exactly.
You know how to help.
You have enough experience.
Yeah, you can guide. You know what I'm saying? You know
The
what's going
album
on.
is great, actually. The one album on Spotify is it 2006?
You talking about my shit?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
No, I'm serious. Especially the club song, the one that's like for dancing.
That's the worst. That's the worst.
That's my
song
favorite
I've
one.
ever made.
Fuck
in my
you.
life. I didn't
It's
even-
incredible.
I didn't make that
And
beat.
you know who it reminds me of? The album. I figured you made all those beats.
I made
You made the
two,
ones that
three-
sound more metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the evil, dark shit. That's the ones I made. The ones that people were like, yeah,
The
and then the other shit is like more
it
experimental.
reminds me of Lewis Logic. Do you remember that dude?
I don't think that I do.
Lou? I gotta play some of his music whenever we break.
Okay.
But I mean, he made a career for himself in music and then quit. He decided to be like a psychologist or something. Last
Yeah.
I checked, but I used to put him on at shows in New York, and he had like a big career. He was touring colleges and things. And
When I was doing that, I did that project. I produced it with Kaz Lamar, right? The legend. So I was on a mission as a producer. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a fucking producer is what I'm going to do. And this is before I was going to put that album out or anything. So I was walking in the hood. What I used to do was, so let me just get back to my story because it'll explain this. Got out of high school, didn't go to college. At that time, didn't have the direction, I'm not going to blame my parents or anything like that. It's just shit was fucked up and I didn't have the direction or the guidance really. And it was like, I'm just going to do my thing. And so I ended up in the streets, like just trying to run around and be an asshole. You're 19, 18, what are you doing,
right.
And so
Making money, surviving.
just trying to get a job and just fucking, figure out shit, right? Well, I got picked up by a local guy that started a studio in my hood. And that kept me off the streets. And he was like, hey, man, come on in here and fucking blah, 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 see what's up. My mother had bought a computer for me as a graduation present, and it had some beat making software on it. And I learned that and just like stayed in all summer making beats. They opened up the studio down the street, showed up there with the beats. He's like, yo, man, you belong here. Next thing I know, I'm working as a producer in the studio at 18 and learning how to use all this hardware, learning how MIDI works at the time, because MIDI was like the new shit, right? Back then, it was like, how do you do MIDI? Oh, you got to use, So we're getting like...
It's like a communication language to connect musical instruments to electronics, basically.
I didn't
to
fucking know
computers.
that back then.
No, I'm just explaining
saying-
for people who are listening. Like,
okay, I thought now everybody knows what MIDI
yeah,
is.
yeah. No, I think people, like I always try to think about it like my mom might be listening. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
like some people don't know. I don't remember. Is it musical interface data? I don't remember what it stands for.
It's musical information data interface, isn't it?
Nice.
I mean, it might be. I
Look,
don't
no,
know.
that sounds great.
I don't know.
Do you remember the digital audio workstation?
Yeah,
the
so
first
we were
program
using,
you were using?
Yeah, damn. We used to use a bunch of Boss. Oh, you mean as far as the... so I remember the hardware.
Yeah, was it Audacity or like what was that on that
It was
first computer
something
that you
that
said you
had-
taught yourself?
Yeah,
Reason
it
or
wasn't
Logic?
Reason. It wasn't Reason. It wasn't Logic. It was something that was so... I'm trying to remember it. It was so like... They just had like the samples and you just would place the samples. So they had like pre-done drum beats. And then what I started doing was like mixing the tracks in ways to create new drum beats that was like unprecedented.
Huh.
And I had this like fucking... I had a Roland and I had a Boss. And I would just like mix it all together and make
Okay.
beats. It
Okay.
was fucking crazy. And then I would use Cakewalk.
Oh,
It was
cool.
the first recording software. I think that's what I was using. Was
Mm.
Cakewalk. And then in the studio we were using keyboards and hardware. Picked up the Triton LE, and
This
once
is-
I got
This is your first synth?
yeah, that was the first one, was the Triton LE. Once I got that Triton LE, that was when everything kind of really popped off. And I started selling beats to the crack dealers down the street for $50, and that's how I was paying everything, I was
Wow.
like 18, 19, selling all the crack dealers. Crack was huge. And they were the ones who had the cash, you know what I mean? Like,
Were you not worried about your safety? Like
I was from
at this
there.
time?
No, I'm from there. What the fuck? I don't give a fuck. from there. What are they gonna do?
How did you stay safe? Like, did you?
I wasn't selling drugs. So like I was just they wanted to see me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm the guy with the beats. Every crack dealer wanted to be a fucking rapper. So like you were selling crack or heroin in the year like 2000 and fucking what was that? 2002. Like you wanted to be a rapper. 50 Cent came out and everybody was just like, you know, I sell drugs too. I've been shot too. Fuck, I resonate with this. I could do this too, right? So everybody was doing that. So like and Dr. Dre was making a lot of that shit. So it was still in an era where how good you could play music, you know, really mattered.
Yeah, Scott Storch, the keys.
Scott Storch, exactly.
Right.
Yes, perfect
Right,
example.
like a
Scott
really
Storch.
musical dude.
Super
That's what I
musical.
hear when I listen to your music is that you're very musical. Like,
Yeah.
this is somebody who's not making these just drum heavy beats.
Right.
It's somebody who's really interested in music,
Yeah.
musicality, intonation, tone, kind of like you're interested in melody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I am.
Because
it tells a
you're
story.
an actual musician.
Because it tells a story. It tells a story. You know, and I wouldn't go so far as to call myself a musician because I can play a little bit of everything that I want, but I'm not a master of any one instrument. Like I'm not gonna get on the drum set and say I'm better than like anybody. You know what I mean? But I can play what the fuck I hear in my head and I can rock. You know, on a guitar, I can't play the fucking guitar, but I play the bass. You know what I mean? Do I play the bass as well as a bassist? No. Would I consider myself a bassist? No. Can I play well enough to hire the best bassist in the fucking world? Yeah. Can I tell him what the fuck to do? Yeah, I can. You know what I mean? Can I play the idea I hear in my head well enough for the best bassist in the world to come in and play what I played? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I can do that. Fucking, I can do the same thing with piano. I can do the same thing with anything. Like I'm good enough and I've spent time to get good enough to have the best in the world work with me and me be able to do something unique and take them to a new place they haven't been. And that's why as a producer, you know, I'm doing what I'm doing. Like I
mean, that's probably what like Kanye or Dre do also, right? Like
Yeah, I learned
neither
from
of them
them.
are really
I learned from them.
instrumentalists,
No,
right?
neither of them.
Kanye will just be like, "Hey, play this." Like, ding,
Literally,
ding,
but he has to
ding.
know. He has to know how to play well enough to know what the
Yeah.
fuck he wants to hear. You know,
Yeah.
you have to have, and also you have to listen. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to have listened to everything. You know, like I think that's one of the reasons why rap music becomes so stagnant is because they're not listening to everything that's not rap. You know, like if you're a rapper, you should be listening to no rap. Don't listen to rap. If you're a rapper and you want to be a great rapper, don't fucking listen to rap music. Listen to 70s rock music. That's what I listen to. I listen to all kinds of shit.
Do you ever listen to that like Japanese 70s
Yes,
rock?
Japanese
It's so
70s rock. It's
amazing.
fucking insane.
Yeah.
Actually, I really wonder about that shit. Like, you know, you listen to anime music and you see these anime intros and they fucking have these incredibly intricate songs that you're just like, what the fuck? You know, like a couple of these intros, I mean, you just go, what the fuck? Like, why are you, like, you know, this is a cartoon, right? Like, what the fuck? Why are you all over? Why are you all over the place? You know, having these whole moments. But yeah, you know, thanks for the compliment. I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do take it seriously when it comes to all of that stuff. You know, I do say that I subscribe to the Dr. Dre school of production. That's me. You know, I want to be involved in every sound. I want to fucking make sure that every sound is doing what the fuck I want it to do, that the statement that's being made is the statement I want. Because this is the stuff that lasts after you die. You know? This is what lasts. Like, you know, you asked earlier about having kids, and you're like, how do you not have kids yet? Well, kids are fallible. Not to insult anybody that has kids. I'm just saying, like, human beings themselves, when you create a human being, like, you have hopes and dreams for them, but, you know, they're not going to be exactly what you want them. Like, you can be proud of them, but they're not going to be what you created. Like, you're not saying, okay, I'm in control of every aspect of this, and this thing that I created is the way I wanted it to be. You know, the way that...
Because that's the monster Frankenstein.
Right. Whereas, you know, you create a piece of music, it'll be as perfect as you can get it to be until it has a point of imperfection where you're like, that's perfect. You know, like the imperfection itself.
You have to let it go.
Yeah, you gotta let it go, you know? And
It's
it
the same
will
way with
outlast you.
kids.
Like that level of perfection will outlast you. It'll outlast your bullshit, everything. Like, you know, and not to bring this up, but you see like R. Kelly, right? This is a perfect example. We cannot, like, no one can stand beside what this guy has done in his life, his personal life. But you can't deny that the music this guy has made, like, he has added to the human conversation.
I
You know?
believe I can fly.
But I'm saying he's added to the human conversation. And as artists, I think that that's what all of us should strive to do, whether you're doing anything. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. We all should strive to somehow add to the human conversation. And that's kind of like what I'm all about right now. You know, like, do I want to have a kid to add to the human conversation? Or do I have something that I really desperately need to say? You know, do I have something that I really desperately need to share, need to let out and let it like unleash upon the earth? And that's what I have, and it's not going to be a person.
I
You know what I'm
do
saying?
think, yeah, absolutely. I hear you. I still think you can do both. You know, if Elon
People
can
do
have
both.
9 kids, like
But
10, I think he's got 10 now. He
but wait,
admitted
but wait, what level was he at before he did that?
before he started.
You know what I'm saying? What risk did Elon really take before he was doing all that? You know, like he was already from a family with a lot of kids. He already had it back. Like, I don't have that going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't look at that the same way. Like, you have kids. You raise wonderful kids. That's great. You know what I'm saying? I'm very proud for you. You know what I'm saying? I love your kids. Everything's great. But like me, like, I'll do it later. I see these guys. You look at fucking Al Pacino and fucking Robert De Niro. These guys are having kids at like fucking 89 and 90. Like,
For sure. But you never know.
no, but
Every day could be your last. And you could be the
So
end of your
then-
line.
wouldn't I want art to be the thing that lasts forever? Basquiat, where's his kids? You see his art, we know him, we're talking about him. You know? Where's Mozart's kids? Where's his descendants? I don't fucking know. But we know his music. You know what I'm saying? It's that art. And that's what I'm seeking for. That's the level, that's where it's at for me. You know, it's like, sure, I'm sure I plan to have a family someday. You know what I mean? But like my sister has a niece that's wonderful. So I'm like,
Andy Warhola. We don't talk about Andy Warhola nearly enough on this podcast.
really?
Pittsburgher. Amazing. Legendary. But wasn't it Basquiat that really launched him into that street artist fame? Wasn't it the connection to black youth that made him able to pop on that level where he could bring in like street culture and street
Personally,
knowledge?
what I'm looking for right now is my own Warhol museum. I'm looking for my own space that then I will turn into
The
that
factory,
thing.
not the Warhol Museum. You need the factory. That was what he called his workspace.
Well, I mean, yeah, not the museum because obviously that's after he's dead, but that
Right.
space.
The factory.
Yeah, okay.
That's what he called it.
I'm looking for more of a Studio 54.
But it was in. But what created the factory? Yeah, Studio 54. Yes, that's
kinda,
what the
kinda
ritual
closer,
is.
Yeah, that's kind of closer to what the ritual's been. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the factory
height
had
of it.
parties, right? So, so he had parties at the factory. It was what's the name of the band that played with the banana on the cover? He designed. I mean, that was before Studio 54, right? That
Was it?
Yeah, it was a private party, basically in an art space in Soho. It's
Yeah, it popped right up. Velvet Underground.
Velvet
There
Underground,
you go, yeah.
exactly. So the Velvet Underground was like Sweet Jane, right? Sweet Jane. They were the band that was playing at the factory at Andy's parties.
60s. Yeah, you're right. Verve Records. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep. Exploding Plastic Inevitable tour.
there's some great like video, like there's a couple movies that show kind of what it might have been like, and actually there's a couple scenes in what the fuck?
Cam Chambers cracking me up. He's hitting me up right now talking about he's pissed off. He's pissed off because
but-
he keeps hitting me up talking about like, man, we gotta. I always rock out late at night, right? I'm always like doing this shit late at night.
Yeah, I
That's what
saw
do.
your
That's, like, my
Instagram
thing.
yesterday.
I
You just
fucking-
showed up at the jam. That
Yeah.
guy's garage is crazy.
That's Ivan, man.
Wow.
Major Triad
Wow.
Audio.
You must live in
he
Mount
owns-
Washington.
No,
all
it's
the photos you post,
Southside, yeah.
but you're up on the slopes.
Mhm.
All the photos are always showing the city.
Yeah.
So that's where the ritual is.
No.
Is it your home?
No,
It's a somebody else's house.
no. The ritual is moving. It moves around. So like, I mean, it's a ritual. You know what I'm saying?
What's the idea?
It's a ritual. It's a pagan ritual. It's literally what a party is. It's the same shit. We're in the night, you know, we're beating the drums, we're having the food, we're cultivating the energy, you know what I'm saying? We're gathering, like we're doing the certain things. Like it's for certain people. You know what I'm saying? It's for creative types. So like if you find yourself like up at like 2 to 7 in the morning every day, like just in the night, like what the fuck am I doing? Where is my life? Like I have this energy. Where should it be? It should be with us. It should be with us. And then, you know, maybe you'll get inspired. You know, there have been lives born from the ritual.
I imagine
There have been.
it's an orgy, right?
No. It should be. No, it's not. It's not an orgy. It's not an orgy. It's not an orgy. For the record, the ritual it's not a fucking orgy. I mean, you know, if you want to do that, I'm not going to stop you. I wouldn't be opposed to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I do think about the private party often because I am interested in the history of electronic music and I'm interested in
That's where
where
it comes from.
techno came from.
That's where this comes from. So
A
the
lot,
ritual,
right?
ritual comes from the gallery.
Okay.
Do you know about the gallery?
Tell me.
So back in 2000 and fuck, what was that? There was. Were you still here for that during the Click Vodka days when they had a rise? And this was like
Of course. Yeah, I remember
So,
that.
like,
What was
all
that
the-
guy's name?
Frank.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Noah.
Frank.
Yeah, Frank
There
and
you
Noah.
go.
Shout out to Frank
And
and
who-
Noah.
Isaac
Click Vodka.
Oliva.
Yeah, and Isaac Oliva. Shout
Yeah.
out to Frank, Noah, and Isaac.
Yeah.
Huge.
That was Click Vodka.
That was a big deal for the rap industry here too.
Really?
Yeah, it was a big deal. In
We had
hip-hop.
White Diamonds. White Diamonds was promoting us on our tour with Marcus.
Interesting. Well, these guys.
We had a different vodka.
They did a lot of really great shit for the scene here, like in electronic music and everything like that. But they had something called Faded. Well, it wasn't Faded.
Faded Entertainment.
No, Faded was the owner, and so he had Faded Fest, and I wasn't sure if they did that or Click Fest or something like that. But anyway, they used to have these huge shows where they would have like 30 fucking artists in the scene come through and rock, you know. And so it was during one of those shows when I ended up down at the gallery, and I had a friend.
Wait,
You know what?
what's the gallery?
Maybe this isn't. Yeah, so I'm getting sidetracked. So anyway, so the gallery is a venue that a guy named Damien and another guy named Mike Mattis, who were guys that used to run sound and throw shows in the drum and bass scene. They got a building downtown, and it was unprecedented. I'd never seen anything like it before. It was on 3rd Avenue, and you wouldn't even know it was there. And you go in, and it's a fucking, like a huge open space building downtown, and they would have 3 stages in different rooms, and they had 3 different floors, you know, bar downstairs, and just like all this decoration. And it ran probably for about a year. It was definitely the best after hours I've ever seen in Pittsburgh. It was fucking insane. Like it was insane.
It was running after 2 a.m?
Yeah, every day pretty much. And then they were having national artists come in, and they were having huge shows, and like they would have, like they just didn't have any problems, you know. Unfortunately, they shut down.
I was at a drum and bass show downtown, right off Market Square. It was amazing, kind of similar to what you're talking about. Not too long
I
ago.
think downtown is underutilized.
Market Square. It was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of space to, and it's also central. That's
Yeah,
what people.
That's
don't,
what I'm looking for.
you know,
right
I
now.
have Femi and Wade come on the podcast, and they're talking about how upsetting it is that people can't come out because they're afraid to cross bridges or afraid to go through a tunnel. Well, do the show downtown.
Femi and Wade are dope. I love them.
Oh, amazing!
I used to, so DJ Femi is one of the original Ritual fam as well. So we have a couple of people that like helped start the Ritual that are like Ritual fam, you know. So it's DJ Alex Rivera, it's DJ Yamez, it's DJ Femi. You know what I'm saying? And like those were the 3 main people that we just turned the whole fucking city up for
Yeah.
years. You know, and like it's beautiful, like I said now, to see all the things they're doing, like everybody individually. you
Well,
know.
yeah. I saw you at Sumalama. That's the last time I saw you.
Beautiful thing.
Shout out Femi. Shout out
Shout
Wade.
out to Femi and Wade, man.
Sad Bear Gang.
Sad Bear Gang. I love it.
What are the Phelan fans called?
I don't have fans. I don't look for followers. I don't look for fans. You know what I'm saying? I'm not into that shit. Like, they kind of dictated that to us. I'm older than social media. So I never really was like I need followers type of guy. You know what I mean? I'm more like you know, if you support, that's cool. If you dig what we're doing, that's cool. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way I look at that. I think that it's like, I think it's been weird for society. The way that we've just been subconsciously like programmed to do certain things and look at things a certain way. Like, you know, I always thought it was corny as fuck to pay attention to social media. I always did. Like, because you remember, you know, social media was like, we had MySpace, sure, but it wasn't like you know, when people would care what the fuck who was on their top 10 on MySpace, I would think that was silly.
I was on your MySpace today.
Yeah. You were?
Oh, yeah.
I still have a
I
MySpace.
found my MySpace.
We have
I have
MySpaces.
2.
Is there music
We
on
have
there?
2. No, the photos don't load anymore.
Oh,
I mean,
that's what I say. Is the media even on
it's
there anymore?
basically just been like completely dissolved so that
Holy
there's just
shit.
like this shell. But I was able to see a couple people on my top 8
Right.
still. So I was able to see who's on my top 8. It was
That's crazy.
DJ McFly. DJ McFly was on my top 8.
McFly. Shout out to McFly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good friend of mine back in the day. Him and Bonix.
Yeah. I was up there on Mount Washington.
Yeah,
Back
exactly.
in
They
the
had
day.
that
That's where I was
sweet
hanging
ass
out. I
place.
might have seen you.
Probably.
Maybe
We used to
we
play
were
the
hanging.
fucking,
That was the after
Wii.
hours for me.
The after hours, exactly. We used to
Yeah,
play
hitting the
Wii,
Wii.
then
Wait,
the
you were
archery.
there? You
Yeah,
were
I was
doing
there.
the
What the
Wii
fuck?
bowling and
Fuck yeah,
shit,
man. I used to
yeah.
blaze with Bonix all the
And
fucking time.
hitting the
Yo, Bonix, I remember.
scratches on the.
You know what? I'm not even going to tell the story.
Yuri
I
ring?
have a history with Bonix myself. You know,
Dope.
he used to be, you know, he was the radio DJ. And this was way back. This is at a time when I was just working. And he was just trying to, you know, establish himself and get himself up there too. And I'll never forget the time. Like, I'll just never forget anything that Bonix was doing before all the stuff he's doing now. You know, it's just, I'm not going to go too deeply into it. But yeah, I like Bonix. Bonix was great. Those were good times.
I wish we could get too deeply into it.
The only thing I could say, the most significant thing was he was there when I was working at Diesel, back when I helped build that club. and then worked in the VIP and learned that whole ins and outs of how clubs work and fucking, what the racism thing is here, and, protested that, and, just did a bunch of shit. Who was I working with at that time? I was hosting Underground Hip Hop Video Magazine at that time and doing beats for Jaziri X and Paradise Gray of X Clan. So those were my main guys at that time. So I wasn't going to be dealing with any racism or any venues telling us that we weren't going to be throwing hip hop shows there because they didn't like the demographic we brought or some shit. Like, suck a dick. So, we caused problems back then. But Bonix was there for that. And he was also there for... I'll just never forget the night he came down and asked me if he should go be Wiz's tour DJ. And I said to him, fuck yeah. I said, yeah, you should. He said, I don't want to put your business out there, Bonix, my bad. It wasn't anything bad. It was cool. It's just, looking back on it, I didn't realize that our friendship was like, I didn't know it would like become that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize that, just me giving advice to a friend like that, would be, like, it's crazy. It's crazy to think back on it. But I love Bonix. I love everything that we've seen.
Did you hear the announcement today?
Which one?
He's now Snoop Dogg's tour DJ.
That is the most awesome shit. I'd like to go back in time.
Let's go.
I'd love to just go back
Bonix,
in time and
man.
just tell him on that day when we had that beer. You know what I mean? But I think I did. It's weird because I kind of did.
You did. You saw the writing on the wall.
I couldn't go back in time and be like, Bonix, you're going to be Bonix. Like, you're going to be on tour with these guys and this guys because we already knew. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's one of the things that's been so trippy for me. And like you were talking about it earlier, where it's like, maybe your talent is finding those people. And I always have. I always have. Like Buku, I knew Buku was gonna fucking be Buku. You know what I'm saying? Like Wiz, I knew Wiz was gonna be Wiz. I knew Mac was gonna be Mac. I knew fucking Bonix would end up with them. I knew fucking about I know all kinds of shit. It's fucking weird.
How can you tell? What do you think it is?
Without getting too deeply into some of my own like fucking nutball secrets, and having you be like, okay, this guy's like, I think that people shine. I think you're always the person that you are. I think that, our perception of time is a little weird. It's a little skewed. It's a little primitive, So like, let's say you were a psychic, okay? And let's say that you knew how that worked. And let's say that the way it works is not like, oh, I see your future. Oh, I see. It's that you see what is called a quantum bubble of somebody. And you see everything that person is, right? And you see the path and the math, if that makes any sense. And just kind of like you see it, you know it, you feel it. And then once you feel it once and you see what happens, like you just know it every time. Like I knew Christo was going to be, Christo was already, everybody knew Christo was going to blow. But like when I got a chance to hang out with him, in my studio, like he crashed my place for a couple weeks.
Who is this?
Christo, fucking, I guess, he's JID's producer now. You don't know about Christo?
No.
Dude.
This is a local producer.
No. So
global producer.
Yeah.
Dope.
Definitely. Him and his brother Benji. You know about Avatar Benji?
I know Benji.
Yeah.
Benji did Say Yeah, right? Or no? Yeah. Say Yeah.
No.
Benji Grinberg.
No. No. So you're talking about a business guy. That's Benji. You're talking about an artist, Avatar Benji. Him and his brother Christo.
Yeah.
So two extremely good friends of mine came up in the scene here. Benji plays bass and raps and sings at the same time.
Yeah.
So like when I saw him, that was fucking the most inspiring shit. Like back in the day before, like I was at one of his first shows.
Is it energy? Is that what you're noticing?
It's the energy. I think it's the energy, but it's
vibrations. Like, the way people, like my mom would say,
well, no,
because
like you can be,
you
cool.
can see people's aura.
You can be cool. I could see your aura, but your aura is more now. You know what I'm saying? Like I can see like how you are now, but then like if I look, like I looked, like I don't want to. Like, how weird am I supposed to get on this fucking podcast?
Go for it, man. Let's go. Come on. Don't hold back. Come on.
You got me drinking beers. I'm kind of comfortable.
Don't hold back.
I just don't know who the fuck's going to see this shit. And like, don't tell them.
Please.
I'm like, yeah, I'll tell you everything. Let me tell you everything. Here's the powers.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the secrets of the universe. No, but you can see. And it is an energy, but it's like, you can see when somebody has a lot of energy, you can look at... man, how the fuck do I explain this to you? So it's like everything all at once, right? It's like it's a bubble. That's the best way to describe it, right? And what it is a storm globe. Okay, so you remember storm globes? This is the best way I can learn how to describe it.
Yeah, snow globe.
No, not a fucking snow globe. A storm globe. A plasma globe. You know what I'm talking about? They used to sell them at Spencer's.
Oh, sure. Where you touch it and it gives you...
That's the fuck I'm talking about. But what happens when you're not touching it?
it kind of doesn't do much, right?
It does. It does everything. When you're not touching one of those globes, the lightning is everywhere in that globe. It's everywhere in the globe. It could be anywhere in the globe at once, right? But then when you touch it, that's where it is. But yet it was everywhere all at once until you touched it, right? You focused it. So the way that this shit works is you exist in a quantum bubble. And you should look at that quantum bubble like a storm globe where the lightning, which is your path, your life, your energy, whatever, is everywhere all at once within that bubble. And the bubble is everything you could have ever been. That's how big the bubble is everything you could have ever been anywhere. So, like, let's say that you ended up in the middle of fucking, the movie Interstellar out in a black hole somewhere. That's just how big your bubble is. You know what I'm saying? Like, your bubble's that wide. Like, all of humanity fits within your quantum bubble. And that's kind of like, I can see that, if that makes any sense. Like, and your will, when you touch, your will is like touching the glass. And that's where the lightning goes. So, like, I can see that. That makes any sense. That's kind of the best metaphor for how that ability works. And it's almost like a cheat code. So like I have it too. I know my own, like I know what I'm supposed to do. I just know that it seems so fucking impossible. It's like, how the fuck are you gonna do that? Like really, how are you really gonna do that? And then, I just had to do it. Like I just had to do it using the ways that I could. So that's why now you see me at a point where there's gonna be a point where you're gonna be like, this guy's in fucking here, he's over there, he's got an album in this genre, he's got an album in that genre, he's got people from over here, he's got a movie, he's got an animated series, he's acting, what the fuck is going on with this guy? But it was because I was able to understand what the fuck I was supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not supposed to, how do I explain it? I just know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. That's all.
And work with good people and don't sleep.
Right. Well, you look at a guy like Quincy Jones, right?
A lot of kids.
Eventually, he had to get somewhere where he could do that, right? He had to get somewhere where he could do that.
Yeah.
For real. He did. He had to get to a point where he was comfortable enough to be like, okay, like, I have some fucking kids. Fuck it. And I want to do that too. Like, I don't want to put any kids through the struggle. I don't need to create any more evil people like me. I don't. I really don't. I don't need to pass on generational curses. I don't need to pass on karma. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to fix it. I need to defeat my father's karma. I need to defeat the generational curses that destroyed my black family and tore my white family apart. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to understand the demons that lie inherent that, they're not slick. You know what I mean? Like, I needed to gain some power over that. And if I were to have kids, what's going to happen is my life, my quantum bubble will no longer be what it is. It'll be about somebody else. Your life is no longer about you. Your life becomes about your kids, and like nothing that you do, it only matters because of the perception of what your kid does. You're going to die, and now your kid's perception of you becomes the only real memory of you that's like relevant. Unless you create art or you affect people or do good deeds, you know what I'm saying? Or add to the human conversation in some way. So that's what I'm saying. I'd rather add to the human conversation and then have a kid that's like, oh, this is the conversation.
I think all of us get that. I mean, I don't think there's anybody. I guess there are some people out there that are literally just reproducing, like just.
But
like
maybe
ants.
that's their purpose, though. You see what I'm saying? That's their purpose to do that.
birth
It's
the
not their
next
purpose to
Einstein, or
have
the
the
person who will generate the
Right.
Warp drive or the the Dyson sphere that'll
Yeah.
allow us to get out of this solar system, etc. Yeah, maybe.
Right.
So the
I
other
just-
people to mention from the diesel conversation are Sarah Masterson.
Love her. She's amazing.
Awesome.
Shout out
Not
to
here
Sarah.
anymore. Yeah, she's some other city. I don't
I
know.
was just say not here anymore. Like she didn't die, dude. Like,
No. She's good.
She's
She's
chilling,
just
chilling. She visits.
doing the same thing, like
Yeah, she's
working
great.
in
She's
working
free.
in.
She's wonderful.
Yep. Exactly.
Sarah was always amazing.
And then the other thing to connect to is about all of the things you mentioned surrounding the policies at the clubs and what happened.
So they changed that. That was because of the family and like the father. Like it was 3 guys that owned that. Then they were a family and fucking like it was just a time where things were just a little weird for them and they didn't want to risk their millions of dollars of investment. They just sunk into this place, that they thought could be ruined by a shooting or something like that.
Sure.
Which we've seen happen several times since they had ever even opened. So they weren't necessarily wrong about the things that they feared.
Right.
It's just that it manifested itself in a way that maybe was a little overboard at that time.
The racism is, actualized in the form of dress codes.
Policy, yeah,
So,
which
right,
we don't
so
have
you put
anymore.
up
You don't see them anymore. And then
a sign on the front door that says, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear about everything, and so that people can understand what we're talking about. So it'd be something like no baggy pants, no jerseys.
no dark skin.
Well, that's so. Do you ever see the movie They Live?
Yeah,
Of course.
fuck yeah.
Well, that's what they mean, right? So that's I think it's called ideology. So the ideology is no black skin, no dark skin, but what they put up is the sign that says, no jersey, no hat, no boots, whatever,
Well, we got into
no
a whole.
sneakers.
Did you know? So there's another interesting topic. So you talk about that, and would you say that we are in the? I wouldn't actually. I'm not going to ask you. I wouldn't ask you to say that. Never mind. But I'm just saying, like, some people would think that we were in a post-racism age now. Like we're post-racism. Like, we're aware of these things now. We've had the protests and fucking blah 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 blah. But we went out there and
Right.
protested and did all that shit. But they never changed the law that I tried to change. During the Black Lives Matter protests.
What was the law?
Oh man, we had a fucking fleeing felon law here that basically says that the cops can shoot you if you're running away, whether you're armed or not. This is what happened with Trayvon and fucking
Right.
or Antoine Rose. I'm sorry, not Trayvon.
Yeah, not
I always say
Trayvon, right.
Trayvon. What the fuck?
Yeah.
This is what happened with Antoine Rose.
Antoine
here.
Rose.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
S-
and
but-
there's a very, very notable case in South Carolina that I talk about frequently, where the cop actually did go away for 40 years. Thank God.
That's good,
It
but
was-
that's now.
His
Whereas
name was Drake, I think. I'll put it in the notes. But the point is, like,
what I'm saying is
there's a
that-
law now that you can't shoot somebody who's running away. Is your point?
No, there isn't. That's what I'm saying. We did all that shit. We talked all that shit. We did out there. We did everything, all that noise. And the very law that we needed to change, the one that, would have put the guy that, shot Antoine, fucking would have put him in jail.
Yeah.
We never changed that. So I had a petition. We did everything. I did it the right way. I did everything the right way.
Yeah.
Just, that's so drastic of a change for law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? Like, for them to have to not shoot somebody. But I'm like, yo, you'll catch him later. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, well, what if he runs into a house and takes somebody hostage and does this and
That's
that? Blah, blah, blah.
ridiculous.
I'm
No,
like,
that's
okay,
a
but he
ridiculous
doesn't.
argument.
If he's running away from you,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? He's not shooting back at you.
Right. That's
Like,
not a.
that's not necessarily a
There's no
threat.
imminent threat.
Right.
The imminent threat is that this person is going to get away. They're a fugitive from justice.
Right, but you
If
have the
they're a
license plate. You
murderer-
caught the guy
No,
they were
if
with.
it's a serial killer,
there's all kinds of shit.
it's different. If it's a
Right.
serial killer, no problem.
Right.
2, 3, 6, 10 bullets in the back. Okay.
I don't know anything about that.
But probably we shouldn't be the judge, jury, and executioner, though. Right? The police officer that's being tasked with this.
Right.
That's not their job. Their job is not to be the jury or the executioner.
So this law, this fleeing felon rule that exists in our Pennsylvania state constitution, essentially allows for them to do that. And that's what I looked at that and was like, okay, whenever we had had our group and we were out in the protests and all that shit,
Yeah.
it wasn't just emotion. It wasn't just us out there trying to be like, oh, we're mad and something needs to
Yeah,
change.
no,
It
you
was like,
had
no, we're pissed off.
Specific.
This
aim.
specifically needs to change. If you change this one thing, then this can never happen again. And that's all we needed. That's all we needed. We didn't
Yeah.
need anything else. I got
like that.
thwarted. I got thwarted. That effort got thwarted.
by somebody came and talked to you.
No, somebody went out there and spread a bunch of misinformation, said a bunch of dumb shit that wasn't true to a bunch of people that were ignorant and ready to believe anything. And that harmed our initiative. We didn't get the backing on it that we should have because people were like, we're not touching this.
So there was an operation in the 60s, and
Yeah, COINTELPRO.
look at you.
I know all about it. And that's the same type
but
of thing
don't
that
you
happened
think
here. But
that's
wait,
what's going on?
no, so what happened
The
during this
FBI,
time?
CIA, deep state
Let's
are
talk
inserting
about it.
themselves
Let's talk
into
about it. Let's talk about it.
organizations like
I'll
this
tell you exactly
in
what
order to
happened.
thwart
I'll tell you exactly what happened. Here's what happened.
the efforts.
Let's talk about 2020. Okay, 2020. Here I am coming off successful season of The Ritual. We're the hottest club in town. Fucking, we've got everything going for us. Why the fuck do I want to get involved in politics? Right? Like, why the fuck would I now decide, you know what? Let's throw everything away.
Weren't you already making music with Jaziri?
I was.
Paradise?
But at the same time, it was like we hadn't made that kind of music in a very long time. We hadn't. Because what happened was Jaziri got some money, and started to realize that maybe being so angry, this is but my guess is, he's probably would say something different, but I'm saying that like, the music we were making and the music that we didn't finish the last time we were collaborating was music that was like not going to do positive things the way that he has done positive things now. You know, that's kind of why I stopped doing the rap thing myself, was because the music I was making was very angry and it wasn't going to have the positive effect that I was talking about wanting to have, you know? And so, like, I found different avenues to do that. Jaziri found different avenues to do that. You know, when they founded One Hood, I was one of the original members with them.
One Hood Media.
Yeah, but it wasn't One Hood Media back then. It was One Hood, a political organization, an activist organization.
That's Jaziri with
It's Paradise. It was Jaziri, Paradise, and you know,
Imai.
well, no, Ime
Imai.
has always been an ally, but he is a very wise man. You know what I'm saying? Like, Ime supports things by just being, if that makes any sense. You know, like, Ime's very presence has always been the thing that was inspiring.
He's
for
huge.
me.
His presence is huge,
Dude, his
just like he
presence,
is, right? He's
yeah. Well, like, I mean, I even knew, again, the same thing we were talking about earlier. Like, with him, I knew that he was going to be like,
with the video and with his
I just
production
knew,
and
I just,
everything.
like,
it's
you just know. Like,
yeah,
I always
he's
know.
on one.
I can always see it.
Kahari
you know?
Mosley, was he part
Yeah,
of it?
I was gonna say Kahari was another one. He was huge too.
He's coming on Friday.
He's coming here.
He'll be here
Love
Friday.
That guy. Love that guy. He'll never mention my name, but I love that guy. He was one of the first people that inspired me to go ahead and do some hip hop. Honestly, him and Kelly Mays.
Wow.
They were two of the people that inspired me to go ahead and be like, you know what, I'm gonna put out some political rap. Fuck it. You know, they had a Slam Bush competition back in like 2000 and fucking goddamn when.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I was like, I'm gonna write a rhyme and I'm gonna go and spit this rhyme.
I liked Kelly because she was connected with the poetry scene. That was part of my connection to hip hop originally, was I was doing like slam poetry in Ann Arbor.
Kelly was so important. She was so important. I feel like I've gotten off track from
Nocturnal.
what I was talking about.
No, I think we're doing really good. We're kind of getting into more of the political stuff.
Okay, that's what we were talking about, the political shit, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to that,
2000. You were saying 2020. What happened?
2020, right? So giving the background, 2020 happens. The pandemic shuts everybody down. So now we have time to focus on what's going on. Everybody goes crazy. Everybody's angry. Everybody's
George Floyd.
George Floyd happens. Then everybody gets out in the street. Now, me having a background that I had, where I had been here for the G20 protests, I had been here for the Occupy, I had been involved in things in the past. So, like, I already know how all this shit goes.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what
Well,
I'm
let's
saying?
talk about G20 because I was there too.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, we can get to that. But what I'm saying is, because having that experience, I knew that maybe like this time we should focus a little differently, right? We had a whole new generation of kids out there this time.
All this energy. How do
they're
we
new.
channel this?
They're all new.
How do we channel this energy?
Right. They were all new. And so that's where it came down to like, okay, I saw, along with a lot of other people, we saw that the protests might be threatened. So I did, in fact, start a group, a militia, whatever the fuck you want to call it. We did do that. And we did get out in the streets and we did protect the protests the best that we could during the time that we did that. And the best way to bring it all to a head was to have a petition, because studying history, studying Black history, you see that these are how these actions are actually done.
Right. The Black Panthers. They didn't.
Even before that,
They weren't just hanging out. They had a
petitions.
list of
They were
demands.
the best example. Yes, let's talk about them. Yeah. So, because I was going even back farther to Prince Hall. Prince Hall. That's how far I went back with it, and looking at that, their correct action to do was I looked at Prince Hall and I looked at the Panthers and was like, okay, this is how we got to do this. So, you know, I did do what the Panthers did. I did go out and try to buy a fucking ton of shotguns, do the Pennsylvania law, you know, and hand them out to people that, you know, I needed to hand them out to. And that's legal under Pennsylvania law. So nobody could say shit about it, right? And I was very angry because I saw on the news what looked to be fucking guys in camo putting their fucking knees on the neck of young Black kids in fucking East Liberty. You know what I'm saying? Doing the first protest. This is May 29th or whatever the fuck, right? And these are the images that are coming out. And I got fucking so pissed off because I'm like, yo, the National Guard wouldn't do that. Like, that doesn't make sense. Why are we seeing this? If we're seeing these images, like, society is broken. And I got super pissed off and was like, yo, the FBI exists to stop shit like this from happening, I thought that, like, they were supposed to be protecting our rights. That's what I thought.
Definitely not.
That's not true. No. They are.
You think the FBI is?
I'm going to tell you. This is part of my story. I'm going to get there. So, you know, you think, what's the organization that's supposed to be like stopping this society from fucking completely collapsing? Because once I see somebody in military gear with their knee on the fucking neck of a young Black kid with a fucking, you know, assault rifle, as people call them, right? Fucking like that, I snapped the fuck out. I was like, militia time.
This was a citizen, like an independent
it was a kid.
citizen.
It was a fucking kid.
No,
He was
no. The person with the
no. It was a cop.
This
it was a
police
state
officer.
cop.
It was a militarized police officer.
Yes, it was a militarized
Meanwhile,
state cop.
If you walk up the street right here in Dormont, guess what they have in their SUVs?
A tank. No, just joking.
Yeah, 4 SUVs parked up on the hill,
with ARs
1.5 blocks away. Each one has an AR and a shotgun.
That's what they're supposed to do
in the center console.
Right, but we, you know, the citizens paid for that when it comes to militarization of the police, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's coming out of my taxes. What do you mean? Absolutely.
So I saw that,
But I
got pissed off.
kind of support it. I don't
Well,
know.
hold on, let's get to it. Let's
Yeah.
get into it. So I got pissed off, right? I got really pissed off. I was like, who the fuck is supposed to be in charge of keeping society together? If we're seeing this, that means I'm supposed to be fighting, because that's the sign. If you see that, you got to be fighting, you know. So I went online and I heard, you know, the FBI was all over Facebook and all this shit, and those were the guys I was pissed off at. So I was like, fuck you, you know. So I went on there. I went on I didn't even type like a status. I typed a bunch of crazy statuses out on purpose, right? Just on purpose, like using all caps and seeming like, you know, like manifesto type shit, you know, like I know what's really going on
Just
here.
to see who would show up at your front door?
Well, it was calculated. It was calculated. I will say that. But I mean, I did kind of halfway, like I was kind of halfway.
You were
like,
opening the door, trying to see,
just trying to see.
trying to start a conversation or something.
I needed to have a conversation. That's what I will say. I definitely needed to have a conversation. That's what I said in all caps. I was like, where the fuck is the FBI? Like, you know, where the fuck are you assholes at? Like, I'm trying to have a conversation. Like, call me, nigga. What the fuck? Well, if y'all niggas is on here, let's go, motherfucker. You know. And yeah, here's what I'll say. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
All right, good.
Don't
glad.
fucking ever do that. Never, ever, ever go on Facebook and type shit out in caps about the FBI and fucking like screaming with all that. Don't do that. Don't do that, because they will definitely they're reading everything. They're on
Absolutely.
there. They're fucking on there.
Yeah,
24/7.
especially Facebook.
It
I'd
took
say
them
Facebook
less
is
than
the
2
worst.
hours. It took them less than 2 hours. Less than 2 hours before, when I typed that bullshit I typed, it took them less than 2 fucking hours, and they were on my ass. They were calling my phone. Called my phone. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck? They're like, yeah, this is such and such from you know, FBI. I'm like, stop playing on my phone, motherfucker. Stop playing on my motherfucking phone, nigga. What the fuck? You know, and they're like, you can call us back on this number and see, you know, what's going on. We'll wait. I was like, no, that's cool. You know, well, so what's going on? They're like, so you want to have a chat? I was like, yeah, we can have a chat. You know, like, what the fuck's going on out here? You know, and they're like, so you want us to come to you? You want us to come, like, you know? I was like, yeah, you know where I live. You know where I'm at. And I looked around and I was like, never mind. Yeah, I'll come to you. So,
You're like, I'm not cleaning this shit
right,
up.
I was like, wait a minute. That's not smart. So, it's just like,
You had like 75 shotguns behind you.
whatever. It was just, I had nothing illegal. There was nothing illegal going on that dictated my decision. Okay, I just thought that it would be smarter to not, because it was like, we're gonna talk to you out of the way. You know what I mean? They're like, we're coming out of the way. Like, you said some shit, so we need to talk to you. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I went down there and met them where they told me to, and had a conversation with them. And it was like, you know, they were just trying to find out, like, what the fuck? How crazy am I? Am I really, like, am I gonna do something fucked up? You know?
Yeah.
And it was like the Matrix, honestly. It was like, you know, that scene in the first Matrix movie where they get him in the fucking room and they have the whole manila folder on him.
Absolutely.
And it's like,
and then his mouth
yeah, that
won't open.
That happened to me,
How
but not in a bad way. It was just
If you
like, that happened. It was just
cannot
like,
speak.
no. It was just like, it was like they showed up. They were super fucking like, just super like white, like just super, just like you would never, like, I don't even know, like they coming out of a fucking like, I can't even name it. Like, what are they coming out, like a fucking LL Bean or some shit? Like, I don't even know. So, but they were cool. They came out, and then I had a fucking manila folder on my ass, like this fucking thick, you know. And I'm like, well, you know, they're like, yeah, can you, Mr. Anderson, can you confirm?
Yeah,
You know, so
one of these lives
right, so they
has
opened
a
up-
future.
That's what they did. I read super fucking fast. Like, I'm like lightning fast at reading. I've been reading forever, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, you got a whole big file on me. And I'm just scanning through the fucking file real quick, right? They had everything. They had fucking everything. So like,
Do you think there was
guys-
an informant
no, there's not an informant. You inform on your fucking self every day.
with social media?
With social media, you
yeah.
inform on your fucking self every single day. You don't even know it.
But
Every day. They don't need someone to snitch on you ever for anything. They know everything you do.
But are the social media organizations cooperating?
Yeah, 100%.
Or are they
100%,
just
no,
able to
100%.
farm it from the
Nope.
public data?
100%. 100%. They are cooperating.
They're sending it.
100%. They're not sending it. They're using, like, they're there. So like, you're typing shit on Messenger and somebody's reading your fucking shit as you're typing it, type shit. Like, that's really real. So they're really doing that.
So you Signal
So they had-
and WhatsApp, or
I'm not gonna tell you what I do. You know, what do you mean what I do?
I'm give advice for people, help people out.
People should try to use
Signal?
encrypted things.
Yeah,
you know.
and also I would say, like, the good advice that I've gotten from some people who I won't name and things, is to build real networks, is to actually have friends,
That's
to
what I'm saying.
actually
Yes, real
build
friends.
community
Yes,
in the
yes.
real world,
And that's what I've done.
to
which
have-
I'm fortunate to have.
to have the capability of communicating with them without using
Yes.
electronic means. to have.
Oh, carrier pigeons, ravens. We use all. I'm just fucking around.
Well,
send a raven. Send a raven.
No, there's some amazing stories about ravens that I heard recently on a podcast, actually, about how intelligent they are.
They'll
how
snitch
they
on you, bro.
follow people.
They'll fucking snitch on you.
You
Don't
give
teach a
them
bird.
one little bit of food.
Don't
and
teach a
they'll, like,
fucking
follow
bird
you
how to
around and
talk,
everything.
man. They'll fucking snitch on you so fast. It's over there. Drugs in the microwave. Like, what the fuck? Fucking parrot. But no, what I was gonna say is that so basically the COINTELPRO, to bring it all back. So when it comes to that, they were not interested in sowing disruption in the protests. They were not interested in having somebody disrupt like black groups or activist groups. That wasn't what they were asking me about at all. They were saying that, white supremacists, they're like, we're on your side. We know what you're saying. They're like, white supremacists are a problem. But keep in mind, they will tell you whatever they think they need to tell you to disarm you. You know what I'm saying? To get whatever they want out of you. So like, I can tell you how I felt when they were saying that to me. I could tell you that I felt like super relieved, and I'm like, oh shit. And they're like, we don't want to fucking infringe on anybody's rights. They're like, we don't want to fucking be out here fucking with you guys. Like, we want the bad guys. We want the bad guys, the guys who really want to hurt people, the ones who want to fucking infringe on rights and fuck shit up. I'm like, well, why the fuck aren't you going after, such and such? And they're like, we always get our guy. And I was like, oh. And then I shut the fuck up and never talked about Trump ever again online after that day. Never once, ever again. Never talked to him. Never talked about him again. I stopped all the political shit online. I stopped talking all that after we went out and did what we did. After that meeting, the only thing they were like, yeah, if you ever want to tell us some shit, I'm like, I don't want to tell you shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to tell you shit. There's nothing to say. You've told me everything I wanted to know, and now I'm cool.
I like the song G Code. You ever hear that song? We don't talk to police.
Oh, yeah. Well,
we rely on the G Code.
I'll tell you this. When it comes to talking to police, right, you got to understand that there's a line between, like, there's code, and then there's, like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and here's where you draw the line. If you were involved in a crime, right, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. If there is some really horrible predatory shit that has happened, you know what I'm saying, that is, like, damaging lives around you, or, like, your life is fucked or something like that, like, like murders. When it comes to murders. I'm not talking, they're like, oh, you snitched on a murder. No, if you were the guy involved in the murder, I'm sure I can understand the snitching there, and like, okay, you're a snitch, right? Like, you shouldn't have been there. You should have made wiser decisions. You got to eat that. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. That's just how the code goes. But when it comes to like, you've been murdered or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
don't go ahead and snitch if you've been
you're
murdered.
Not snitching. That's not snitching.
Feel free.
Is that snitching?
No, if you're murdered,
you don't know what happened.
Please.
You don't know. I don't know. If you're murdered, please feel free to snitch. You're murdered. You're dead. Nobody cares.
That's the only time it's okay to snitch.
It's okay to snitch if
you
are
are murdered.
If you're the one that's murdered, then you can do the snitching. No, I think that culture, the snitching culture, though, is damaging. I think it's been very damaging for people.
Interesting.
I think when it comes to drugs, don't snitch. Like, what the fuck are you doing there? That's all business, right? Like, people are...
Complete legalization, right? Decriminalization.
I think that
legalization.
What's happened in Portugal, I think, has been a good example. I think the stuff that's happening in Canada is a good step in the right direction. Where they have centers for people, so they don't have to do like the whole dirty needle thing. You don't have like needles all over the fucking street and shit like that. Like, okay, you can't defeat that problem unless you go and arrest all of your...
but we don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to be arresting drug users. This is such a bad use of our resources, of my tax dollars, to be going after marijuana smokers in 2023, using my tax dollars to chase them around the city. Are you kidding me?
I mean, look, I don't think they should be.
Kids shouldn't be using this stuff. It's not good for 14-year-olds. It's definitely not good for people that have a propensity to become psychotic, schizophrenia, whatever. But, we got to use our tax dollars more judiciously. We need to be a little bit smarter about the way. I didn't shake it up for you, I swear.
I guess you did, man. I swear. I can't wait to get this on camera. Shake this shit up, get this guy on camera. Get this motherfucker.
We have to be a lot smarter about the way we use our tax dollars. And I think, in general, we shouldn't be policing people's bodies and what they put into them.
Fuck no.
Bottom line.
But the pipeline needs to be disrupted. The pipeline, the opioids, the corporations that are pumping that shit and giving kickbacks to doctors. The big thing right now that I'm looking at is the Adderall
Big time. You know, I have a lot of
because
adult patients on that
that's
stuff.
what I'm going to talk
It's
about. So right now, what's
crazy.
happening is the doctors are getting money to prescribe Adderall and diagnose people with ADD as an adult. And if you think about it, it's bullshit because look at how we are trained to consume information now, right? You have on your phone alone, how many different subjects do you think, if you just scroll your thumb like that one time, how many different complete fucking non sequitur things do you see just in rapid succession? And your brain is now trained to absorb whatever information, from all that all at once. So now we are paying attention to multiple things at once. Excuse me, we're used to having multiple,
Yeah. Being
points
able
of
to
focus.
multitask
So now, of course, a
is
doctor
becoming the norm.
can come to you and say, "Oh, you got ADHD. You can't pay attention to shit longer than 10
It's-
seconds." Like,
Oh,
what the fuck?
no.
Oh, you need some Adderall. That's why you can't
It's
focus.
just a stimulant. We're
Well, it's the
just giving
phone.
people a little stimulant,
the
a little dopamine, norepinephrine mix.
The meth.
In order, it's exactly what it is.
the
It's the same thing. It's cocaine, methamphetamine,
But
no
it's
difference.
But it's the corporations, these pharmaceutical companies that are allowed to get away with this type of shit and aren't being
Absolutely.
checked. You know what I'm saying? And then when they are checked, they're not going to jail. Like the Sacklers didn't go to jail. They got fined, $2 billion? And they're worth like fucking $15 billion or some crazy dumb shit like that. Like,
Well, they're trying right now. The Supreme Court is trying to say they're not going to accept the settlement because the settlement stipulates that there's no further legal action
right,
that
that's
can
what
be
they said.
taken.
Yeah, that's what they said.
And the Supreme Court is basically saying, "Yeah, sorry, we're we're not going to accept this deal. This doesn't make sense."
Well, when
because
did they say
there's-
that? Because they're still out here.
That's yeah,
They're still out here
I
running
mean,
around. Yeah,
You know,
snitch on them.
yeah. There's a new documentary that that just came out, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's not Dope Sick. It's a
I saw
newer
Dope
one.
Sick.
Yeah,
I
it's
saw
a
that.
newer one. But I'll definitely get a chance to watch it soon, and I'm excited for it. I think
It's actually what my the second season of my animated series is all about.
is drugs. So let's talk a little bit more about the animation and things. So are you drawing anything for it? Or
Yeah.
are you doing like the storyboarding?
Yeah, actually. So the way the animation goes, the what you've seen is Act 1. So that's episode 1 through 3, right? And that is done by the lead animator on that is a woman named Molly Wright, and she has worked on the very popular Meat Canyon series. If you are familiar with any of that stuff online, it's huge on YouTube. It's like all the really gross, anti-animation. It's really cool. She's done a lot of the stuff for them. He had a show that was really good. It was about monsters. I forget what the fuck it was called. It's out of my brain. But she worked on a lot of good stuff, and she was able to create a team that was really good out of people that worked for like Midnight Gospel on that show on Netflix. I don't know if you're familiar with that show. It's pretty cool. You should check it out. And a lot of animators from just independent projects. And with that team, that's how we were able to formulate the first act that you saw. So what I do is I record the music, I arrange the music, I do some of the composition where it's necessary. And, I get into the mixing along with Ivan. I bring Ivan in for the mixing to make sure I don't fuck it up too bad. Because you always need to have another ear there.
Sounds incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, like the sound quality, the mixing, the mastering, whatever, sounds fantastic.
Thank you. I always think that it'll be better. It'll be better. But I appreciate that because we did put a lot of time into it. I'm striving for a level that I just haven't quite reached yet. So it makes me feel good that you were at least able to enjoy that. It was
a lot of
mastered-
trumpet.
Well, it was a trumpet album, like I said originally. He came to me, and then after we developed 9 songs, it was like, well, these are, like, how the fuck do I get somebody to care that I made a jazz album? Like, nobody's gonna give a fuck
That's
about
so
this
cool.
trumpet album.
That's
right?
so cool. Yeah. So,
So-
it's like the idea of doing a big music video, sort of, and then you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, like we could.
Just do them all. Fuck it. You're like,
Go
this is gonna
further.
cost you
Lemonade.
It's gonna cost you $300,000 fucking dollars. And I'm like, okay. I guess we'll take it one chunk at a time. You know what I'm saying? So
Wow.
yeah. So we got there.
So are you the producer, or what do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I am. And then what happened was I got through this first act, and I did it on the budget that I had, and the artists all put in great work. I mean, you saw it, and then we were not able to do Act 2 with that same team. We just had different ideas about what needed to be done, and so we just amicably parted ways. We had completed Act 1, so it allowed me to separate the project into different parts. So rather than releasing just the first 3, because once you're done, I don't know if you felt this way, but once you were done with the first 3, it's like, well, what the fuck happens next? Like, I want to keep going.
There's
Like, where is it?
definitely a cliffhanger.
They're all cliffhangers. I've written
Yeah.
them that way. So I was not wanting to release it without having the second 3 done, and then the third 3 at least somewhere in the wings. So I saw that the guy who did the Boondocks, Carl Jones, the guy who did the animation, he was running around doing a press tour because he started a new animation studio where he was looking for young black creatives who had original stories, that had a budget, that wanted to just get their foot in the door and just couldn't quite do it. And here I had experienced frustration where I just couldn't get my shit done because people weren't like understanding it or whatever differences I was having with that team at the time.
Yeah.
So I listened to his interviews. I was like, he's talking about me. This is me. I feel it. I got that feeling. See? And I fucking just emailed them the shit. And, told them what I was doing and told them what I was looking for. And they emailed me back and said, yeah, let's have a chat. We had a couple of meetings. We went back and forth, Zoom meetings. I didn't have to like fly out to Hollywood or anything. They're in Hollywood. They're in Hollywood and Vegas and Chicago. And I just didn't have to like make any trips, so that was really good. I didn't have to leave Pittsburgh to have these like huge meetings. Like if I had moved to LA, right? Just to give you an idea, if I had moved to LA, these were the people that I wanted to be getting the attention of and working with. So like I would have spent all this money and tossed everything up just to go to LA and then be, living in a car, or sleeping on floors or whatever, just to like do whatever opportunity I could to meet these people that I am hooked up with now and working with, and I'm still in
So
Pittsburgh.
cool. But
So that's really cool.
But you
So-
weren't. Oh, go ahead.
So what I was saying is, so that's how I ended up signing the contract with them, and now I have Carl Jones working on my original animated series that features Pittsburgh shit. So that's really cool.
That's amazing.
Along with these jazz musicians that are like legends in Pittsburgh scene, because Ian Gordon was able to say, hey, let me get my homies in here. So now we've got Tony Campbell, who was the youngest guy ever inducted into the Jazz Hall of Fame. We've got him, he's the saxophone. We've got Ben Opie, who used to be a music teacher at the high school I went to. They used to yell at me for running around in the halls. Now here we are, he's on my album, playing the bad guy. Like, it's fucking amazing, He's, is a professor at CMU and plays all these crazy shows and has the hottest jazz band. Like, he's got one of my favorite jazz bands, the Thoth Trio. These guys are fucking insane. So, Pittsburgh Jazz, shout out to the Thoth Trio. They're fucking amazing. But I guess long story short, because I'm rambling, is that I don't know what the fuck was I talking about.
So you were talking about
I was saying,
about the
that's
project.
how we ended up. That's how we ended up separating it into 3 different
about
parts.
first act and the
Yeah, and
second
that's how we
act.
ended up
And
doing that.
you were talking about how you were able to do it even from Pittsburgh, and you didn't have to go to LA. But
Right.
you were in San Francisco at one point.
I
Weren't you?
lived out there. That's another different thing. I wasn't out there doing. I was out there doing cannabis. I had the way that the pipeline for me went was rapper, then producer, then media company. So I started a media company as a producer. I wanted to start a music video and prove that I could do that. I was working with Tom Larkin. Got to shout out Tom Larkin.
Yeah, Tom Larkin.
That
of
guy
course.
doesn't
Yeah,
get-
he
he doesn't
did
get-
one of the videos for Basic. I
There you go.
remember.
He doesn't get mentioned enough.
Maybe 2.
Actually, I was on that video with him. I produced that video with him. That was my company, Lethal 412.
The Pfeiffer of the Inches or whatever.
The one where
Inches,
no,
the
that was
football one?
him. That was him. That wasn't my company. That was just.
Or you
Larkin.
did the one that
The
I was
Office-
in?
were you in that, the Office
Oh,
building?
not the Office one. That one's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
with the blood and all the crazy shit,
yeah,
the murdering.
it's all it's an acronym. It's like
the one.
WFITK or whatever. Like,
That's the one.
yeah. Oh, you did that one? That one's sick.
Yeah, I
man.
produced that.
Wow.
Um,
Crazy. Yeah, it's like a horror movie. It's like a little mini horror movie.
That's what I'm into. So that's the type of shit I want to do.
You like Rob Zombie?
Yeah, love Rob Zombie. I think that his directing is a little like,
Heavy-handed?
yeah, big, no subtlety whatsoever, zero subtlety.
There's
I
a
feel
lot
like,
of subtlety in your show.
yeah,
which
a
is
little too
interesting.
subtle. I wonder at times because I'm like, should I have put subtitles? Should I do this and that? But I feel like if you want to get it, like it forces you to get more into the music. You know what I mean? Like it forces you.
I think storyboarding is the answer. So I don't know if you really
I did.
want my feedback or anything, but like have every single scene like tell a story.
Yeah, that's what
So,
we've
like,
done.
It's
That's what we've done with the new ones, especially. So I've
Yeah.
actually had to step in and do. You were asking what I do. I did the storyboards for the next 3 episodes myself. So
dope.
that required me to, get a fucking iPad, get Procreate. I don't really draw much, but I had to learn
Wow.
how to draw just so I can communicate it. And then I ended up doing the storyboards for all 3 of the next act, and they turned out. I think they turned out incredibly. Like,
So
I
dope.
can't wait for you to show. or
Do you
for to
ever
see it.
think about a graphic novel or comic book?
Carl talked to me about that. He did. He said that. So my stepfather worked for Dark Horse and DC and Marvel and all that shit. So I've always been into comics growing up as a little kid. So I did have an idea about that. But right now, manga is like the big thing. Especially all of us blurs, the black nerd community. Like everybody's reading manga. That's like the big thing. Like motherfucking comics aren't even as huge as manga right now, which is strange, but whatever. And he was like, this would make a really good manga too, and maybe that would help promote it. But I think that making the animation itself is really the thing, honestly. Like, those are just storyboards. He's like, you could release these storyboards as a comic. And I'm like, nah, let's just crush it.
Yeah, and plus,
like,
I
don't need to see the boon.
musical. You're like,
Yeah,
the musical side is so important for you because that's such a big part of who you are. Having the song, and you're doing the beats, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're making those. So
yeah.
and you've done a lot with your music, with the beats. I mean, I've seen the collaborations with RSK and with Yamez and with
Yeah, I've done collaborations with
there's a lot of
people.
stuff out there.
There is.
Like newer stuff, more
Yeah,
on the electronic music side with
a lot of the newer
dubstep
music was all electronic. I was doing dubstep back when it just at first popped off, and that's thanks to Ricky Skullcrusher, RSK.
my
hunted
second
him down.
guest. It's amazing,
Yeah,
right?
I hunted him
Took
down.
a chance on me.
He's the shit.
How cool is that?
He's the shit, man. He's the shit. I hunted him down because I didn't know how to produce it. It was like 2010, 9, something like that. 2010. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Borgor was the hottest dubstep shit out, so that was like the big thing popping. So like you might hear that. I didn't really hear anything else. Skrillex, and there was another one. Oh man,
His name's Rusko.
Rusko was out. But Rusko,
Caspa,
Rusko, Caspa, fucking all that shit, Borgor.
Yep.
So I heard that stuff and was like, oh shit, like how do you produce this stuff? Like I had no fucking clue.
The LFO.
So the LFO. My boy was like, okay, Ricky Skullcrusher, he's the one who does that shit. He knows it. So I was like, where is this Ricky? I will find this Ricky. I will find him. So I did. And, he ended up crashing at my place and living with me for like a year. And I learned how to produce electronic music like that. And that was dope.
Wow.
So he's the one that plugged me into that whole scene. That's where I met TJ Harris. That's where I met Buku.
TJ the DJ.
No, not TJ the DJ. He doesn't go by TJ the DJ. He's Get Nasty. So, but he, was another really good friend of mine that I watched do a lot of huge things. My biggest electronic shows actually were through TJ.
Oh, this is the new TJ.
No, he's not new. It's TJ Harris.
There's TJ the DJ. He was the
TJ
OG.
the DJ.
He was like 40. He's like 40 at least, and plays like he was big at Diesel like back in the day.
Okay.
Now there's a new TJ the DJ.
He's not TJ the DJ. He's Get Nasty, and he's the shit.
We're coming for you, Barbara.
It's not that. It's just I didn't finish the story because there's a reason why. I was like, why the fuck was I talking about the FBI shit?
They're coming for you, Barbara.
There was a reason. It was because of
They're coming for
test. Is because they tried to assassinate my character, and that's why our initiative failed. That's what we were talking about.
Oh, that's the COINTELPRO part.
Yeah.
So they were starting lies about you, which were
well.
what?
The thing was, so the reason why I told you the FBI story was because that's the encounter that really happened. Right? You're still recording?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's the encounter that really happened. Was like, yeah, they came for me. Yeah, I was crazy online. Yes, I was doing that shit. But they, they were cool. And I hate to fucking be the guy on record and say that. You know what I mean? I really do. I fucking hate to be that guy, but I gotta tell you, like, they were cool. They were fucking cool. They didn't want any problems. Like, they just were assessing how much of a threat I was and if I was gonna do something stupid. You know what I'm saying? And then yes, they did monitor me and watch my ass after that. They did. But they never were like, infiltrate this organization and tell us what you're doing or tell us where or who and what or anything like that. Like, it wasn't like that. It was like, if you're going to be out here battling white supremacists, remember it's illegal to kill people. So don't kill them. Tell us. And I was like,
right.
Right. So, but that was about it. So what the issue was that while we were out there trying to give people their voice and protect their voices and, do that, I came up with the idea that, okay, we need to have a petition because that's how you really do this shit. And we need to petition along with support of local politicians and people who are protesting in order to get this law looked at and changed. And whenever they go to Congress, we should have this shit, like, fought for, right?
The running away from cops. You can't shoot somebody law.
Right, you can't do that.
How do you encapsulate the idea?
So the thing, the problem, you mean what the problem was? Because the problem with the law was that they had to believe, they said that all the cop had to do was say, I thought he had a gun. Whether you had one or not, you just had to say, I thought he had a gun. I thought. Therefore, that's how they get away with it. So you could be running away with your back to them, with no gun, and they can shoot you and then say they thought that you were a threat.
Well, there's a few pieces here that I think might help.
Well,
so
we were trying to eliminate that.
Mandatory body cams.
Yeah.
Well, body cams for all.
That was part of it. That was part of the initiative, yes.
Right. That's
all the time.
Crucial. Because if you don't have the body cam, there's no way of knowing.
Absolutely.
Right, the bullet goes in their back, but you say they turned at the last second. They
Right.
had something.
Oh, their hand reached for his hand. Whatever.
Exactly. Walter Scott, by the way, was the name of the man who was murdered in South Carolina. It was Walter Scott.
You know what's fucked up?
Behind a fence, and thank God there was somebody with a cell phone who
Right.
recorded it all.
That's the one that's on the news
He
today.
planted something on him too. He said he was trying to go for his taser or something like that. The guy was literally just running away from him, running away from a traffic stop, running away from him. You know, he ran behind somebody's yard, got shot 7, 8, 9 times in the back.
So that's what I'm saying. So that needs to stop. And the accountability for that, I think, has been the main thing that's changed. Is not that, you know, they're trained differently. I haven't heard about any training reform. I haven't heard about any major police reform in that way. What we have seen is that they're going, okay, they're prosecuting these people. And so, like, now, because we've seen that over the course of the last couple of years, I'm less inclined to be jumping to an emotional reaction every time we see something like this, because now I'm like, okay, I'm a little older. I've seen this a couple of times. Like, let the system work. You know, like, Derek Chauvin's not running around. He's not out here running around.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Fucking George Zimmerman is. You know what I mean? But he's not a cop. He was never a cop.
It was never his responsibility.
So the big thing is about, you know,
protect or serve.
the institutional thing is really where I get into it. You know, it's like, okay, like, you can't really control people's individual racism. You know, they can be punished for whatever. There's individual shit. But when it comes to institutional racism, like, that's the thing that I think that we can go ahead and eliminate. Like, that's where we can make the progress in society when it comes to fighting that racism and making the political changes that we need to ensure that these things don't happen again. So what happened to me was, we did this. My group was great. Came up with the petition. I had a lawyer draft it. It wasn't like I just wrote it in crayon, like, oh, hey, this would be great if we didn't do this anymore. Stop shooting people, you know?
Right.
It was like, no, I hired a lawyer who's in criminal defense and civil defense, and was like, okay, this is how this reads. This is what the language should be like. She drafted it up. She was really great. Thank you, Christy Burek, if you're watching this. She's wonderful. And we took it to the streets. And as we would be at these protests, getting signatures and all this shit, suddenly the people who were leading the protests would be coming after us like, oh, yeah, you're fucking working for this, and you're trying to get these names to give them to the FBI and all this dumb shit. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, where is this fucking coming from? Like, why would you think that? Like, and I was honest with the people myself. Like, I went online and told everybody that the FBI came and got my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, I typed out a whole fucking public thing about it. So there was nothing like COINTELPRO. You watched that movie, Black Messiah, or Judas and the Black Messiah or something like that?
No.
With Daniel Kaluuya. It was fucking amazing.
No.
You should watch it. It's on Netflix.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, but it was crazy because it was about COINTELPRO and that whole thing that happened. But like, what you see is that, like, you don't see a guy going like, oh yeah, I've been talking to the cops, or like, yeah, the cops got me and now, you know, everything's cool. Like, you don't see that. They like want to shut the fuck up that the cops talk to them. You know, they want to shut the fuck up that that even like was going down.
Was it about Malcolm X?
No, it wasn't about. It was about Black Panthers. It's about Fred Hampton.
Cool.
And fucking how he was betrayed and
Huey,
murdered.
Huey Long.
Huey
Newton.
Huey Newton, yeah.
Yeah.
I say Huey Lewis.
I said Huey Long. I said Huey Long.
I was going to say Huey Lewis.
Huey Lewis in the news. Huey Lewis and the Newton. Huey Lewis and the Huey Newton.
It was cute. Yeah, it was clearly Huey Lewis and the Newton. It's a new band.
Which reminds me of American Psycho.
Of course,
which is just
we have to.
Unbelievable, right?
So, but that's what happened. So, like, these people that were out there were not really out there to be like mentally stable fucking leaders in the community or something like that. They were out there to just fucking make a bunch of noise, and they didn't really have any real like initiative.
Was it white people trying to?
It was not.
Take you down?
No, it wasn't.
It was the black community versus the black community.
It wasn't the community. They weren't community. That's what I'm saying.
Were these people
crazy
local
people.
Pittsburghers?
Yes, they were
or were they
crazy
people
fucking
coming in
people.
from the outside?
No, they were local. They were local. They were crazy. There was a couple of them, but they were fucking crazy, and they were scared, and they didn't know who to fucking listen to.
Yeah.
And they were upset and emotional, and they listened to the wrong people who told them the wrong shit. To kind of, I thought about this at first. I was like, why the fuck? It's like, why the fuck would you? Because if you're not like on some COINTELPRO shit, like, why would you go and try to like discredit me or like try to like discredit what we're doing? Like, why would you do that? You know?
Yeah.
Especially when everybody that was with us were all like great people who were literally just dedicating their time to try to.
Especially when everybody else was just trying to break windows and spray paint. You were actually trying to change the laws.
Well, you know, it was a whole thing. So.
And we need to end no-knock warrants.
That was another
Crucially.
thing. No, they did end that. They ended that here, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but it needs to be national.
Well, that's not the conversation. You know, we were worried about locally. So I was worried about the fleeing
So
felon
that
law
really
locally.
did change?
Yeah, that changed.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, they don't do they don't do no knock warrants here.
Well,
I
what
think
about the man who they just tried to evict from his house in Garfield?
that wasn't a no knock, was it? They obviously
No,
knocked in order for
obviously
him to be
there
like,
was-
"Fuck you, motherfucker." You know what I'm saying?
Obviously, it was they had a warrant
They knocked,
to evict him.
but they knocked. So
Sure, yeah, he was a sovereign citizen.
yeah, I know all about that stuff.
Yeah, who was I talking to recently who said that they were into that was Jerry Feelsgood from Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, my point for him was that's yeah, you can say whatever you want, but when they show up at your door,
Well,
They
that's the
don't-
thing
they
about
don't really care.
wanting to be a sovereign citizen in a country like this. Like, you have to really consider our history and like why the fuck we are who we are and how we are who we are and what that means. Like, there's a bottom line. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of people forget the fucking bottom line. Like, you can just be dead. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
That's where Cynik lethal. You know, that's like that whole thing. Like,
They can Epstein you real quick.
they can't even. They don't even have to. They don't even have to Epstein you. Like, that doesn't have to happen like that. Like, it could be a robbery gone wrong. Like, you could just be, oh, he must have been involved in drugs. Somebody shot him. Somebody ran up in his house. I don't know. Usual. Oh, he must have fucked somebody's bitch. Oh, you know what I'm saying? The usual.
Sprinkle a little crack on them.
Yeah, sprinkle a little crack on him.
Got it, Johnson.
Right. So, but assassinating the character was all they needed to do, to make sure that the movement that we didn't have any teeth. So then it became less about that petition, and we rolled it over into the Biden, the election. So that was our last activist movement as that group was. We said, okay, well, fuck you guys. If you're gonna sabotage us here, then we're gonna register as many fucking voters as we possibly can, to make sure that we, do well this election. And
Yeah.
so in Pittsburgh, I know One Hood was involved on the other side of town doing this type of stuff too.
Yeah.
They had a great measure of success where, due to the efforts of that group and groups like ours, we had more voters in this county at that point than any other election previously. So once we saw that, and once, Ed Gainey was elected and
Yeah.
all these things happened, like we saw that the change that we were fighting for, like, you can only do so much. Like, we could fight to put certain people in office, and then they got to do their job.
My grandma would be very proud of you for organizing for the Democratic Party. She was a big Democrat in Pittsburgh for decades.
I don't even like to identify like that, honestly.
But that's what you were doing. You were working for the Democratic Party.
But that was because it didn't make sense to work for anybody else. Like, it doesn't make sense to work for the guy that doesn't make fucking sense. Like, at least these people were like, hey, at that election, it was really interesting because it came down to, do you want to still have a country?
Good or evil?
Do you
right?
want to not have a country? And that's what it came down to.
It made
So
it
it was
pretty
like,
simple.
if this guy won, then the amount of chaos
Yeah.
would have facilitated the destruction and further
I think
deterioration of
that's
the
why
country.
I think that's why people elected him
Whereas
the first time.
That's because
They
we
wanted to
wanted
burn
that
it
troll.
down.
We,
Yeah, they
everybody
drained
wanted the
swamp,
troll.
right? What drained the swamp? Yeah, the troll. What did
It was
you
the
say?
troll. It was the troll. Everybody
100%.
wanted the troll. It was like, I can't believe that would even happen. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, let's see. And it really happened. And it was like,
Absolutely.
okay,
Now what?
right. And they're like, I don't know, fuck you, I guess. So they fucked off for 4 years, and then we're like, okay, that was a fun joke. Back to reality.
Well,
Like,
back to the
back to
status
the-
quo, I would say.
that's what it was. but
Right,
that
the
status quo-
warmongering status quo.
But we couldn't get
the
forward.
unending.
You can't go forward with at least like getting back to the status quo. Like, we took a step fucking backwards where
Right.
it was like we were debating things that hadn't been debated since the fucking 50s in the year 2020. Like, what the fuck were we doing that for? Like, that was stupid. So there was no advancement. There was no progress there. That was all about, doing something again or
Right,
getting something back.
exclusion, build the wall, keep
And
people out,
That combined with
keep people away from the American dream, something like that.
well, the concept of the American dream is like what for people now? Like, that's even what is
Start a
that, you know?
business,
And then what?
yeah.
And then you get all the money, and then what?
Well,
And then
be immortalized. Your
Do what?
idea was to be immortalized through your work,
Yeah,
right?
to have a
make
statement to add to
positive
the human
difference.
conversation.
Yeah.
Every piece of art, every great artist adds to the human conversation in some way. They push it forward. They go, oh, I didn't think about it like this, or I'm feeling something that maybe I wouldn't have felt had I not experienced this piece of art. And that's attributed to this life that lived. That this art only could have existed this one life. Out of all these 117 billion human lives that ever existed, like, because this one existed and made this piece of art, this is advancing the conversation. Like, I think that's important. You know,
It's pretty remarkable that out of the 117, 9 are around right now.
right?
It's like most of the people who've ever lived
Right.
are alive right now,
Right.
or something
No,
like
no, no,
that.
no,
Like
no.
such
I
a
read the
huge
article yesterday.
percentage.
Did you read that article? They discredited that. They said that fucking out of the people that are alive, like they said there's far more people that have died than are alive right now. And the reason why people thought that was because they figured that with easier life expectancy and things like that, and societies and civilization advancements, we would be able to sustain a larger population worldwide at a time. That would be larger than that. But they were doing the math, and the math is like 117 billion, like total human beings so far.
Have ever lived. Yeah.
so far, type
yeah.
shit.
Yeah,
Estimate.
and then the carrying capacity of the Earth for population is only 12 or 13 billion people think. Something like
No,
that.
we
It'll
have,
kind of peak.
we have 6 to 8 billion people right now. So we have, I think it was the population last time was 8.2
right,
billion.
but it'll peak at like 12 and it'll stop.
We don't know that. We don't know that because we don't know, like we're mismanaging resources. You know what I mean? Like we're
Oh,
not doing,
yeah.
we are not being the most efficient human, you know, thing that we could be. Like,
I don't know if I want to be that efficient. Eating that Monsanto corn, is that what requires efficiency? The
No.
bricks of cockroach meat from the
No.
Snowpiercer?
no, I think that having a society that, you know, values the natural way of things is like, so for example,
Well, there were only 20, 30,000 people living in the Americas, right? That wasn't efficient, but it was honoring the natural way of things.
there was, but then they weren't prepared for what came. You know what I mean? Like,
Immunologically and militaristically.
whereas we, you know, the conquerors, we are prepared for whatever the fuck now.
Are we prepared
Unless
for
it's a
war with
virus.
China? Are we, yeah. Are we,
Unless it's a
well, we did okay.
We
Are
are
we
completely compared.
worse than most of the other
Do you know how
countries?
bloodthirsty we are?
Only because of how unhealthy we are.
No, we are so bloodthirsty. The bloodthirst of Americans is like unprecedented. Like we are the most bloodthirsty. We love it. We love it. Like we wish China would be like, fuck it, let's go. We've got fucking bombs. We're just waiting for. We got fucking robots.
We've
Every
got so
single one
many,
of our
we have to
machines.
send them to
Every single one
Ukraine.
of our machines is meant to take out multiple amounts of people. Like even
They're
American
building them right up the
citizens.
street at Carnegie Mellon.
American citizens.
DARPA. The
Carry fucking, like we have guns in our house. We're not designed to take out one guy. Like we're ready to take out like multiple fucking people. Like everybody. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, so. But what I'm saying is like, you know, America as a culture, we are designed to have some great population try us that then we will then have the excuse to fucking unleash upon.
It's been a
which
long
is
time
shown
since there's been a war.
with Japan. You know, we unleashed upon Japan in such a way no one has ever done it since. Literally, no one has ever used a nuclear bomb like that since us. We did it once, and it's never been done since.
That was the point.
That's
that
how
was
bloodthirsty
the
we are.
amazing point from
We did it twice. We did it twice, and nobody's done it once.
Well,
And if anybody tries to do it one time,
Yeah.
what the fuck are we gonna do to them?
if you watch the either the film that just came out
Oppenheimer.
or the Manhattan, even better illustrated in the Manhattan series,
Mm.
they get into the discussion about where to drop the bomb, and so there's this whole debate about
The
whether
most
it should
populous.
get dropped off in the middle of nowhere on an island, and obviously that wouldn't have worked.
No.
Right? That wouldn't have stopped people from using this technology. Somebody else would have done it, and so I'm not saying we did it right, but it is the greatest relative peace that humanity has ever experienced.
Added to the human conversation, certainly, didn't it? Put a period on that.
I am become death, destroyer of worlds,
Destroyer of worlds. Yeah.
from the Bhagavad Gita,
Yeah. Another really interesting book.
which apparently he could read Sanskrit.
You can read it in English.
Yeah, well, I can, but apparently Oppenheimer knew how to read Sanskrit. That was
okay.
also covered in, I think, in the series, not in the film.
I see. Where were we at before we got on all this? We were
You
talking
hate it when
about-
I get sidetracked.
No, I just want to make sure that whatever the point was. Because the whole thing was we were recovering a point that we got sidetracked from earlier, which
Yeah,
was
you were getting into the
whole-
COINTELPRO.
the
Let's talk
COINTELPRO.
G20. So
G20
let's talk all the history of how you became political, right?
Yeah,
So,
it started with the Slam Bush. Yep, Selecta, Kelly Mays threw that fucking event, and I was like, oh, we can go vent and use poetry and art to fucking rail against the government. And I was a huge fan of Rage Against the Machine growing up. That was like my favorite. Like that was like my number one band, Rage Against the Machine. So that was a chance to be Rage Against the Machine. Fuck yeah! So I went out and did my little Zach De La Rocha thing and fucking popped off, and I was like, I could do a whole album like this, and then went and made a whole album like that.
so the album that I heard was not that political, though.
The Black History Project It's about fucking. It's political as fuck.
Really?
Yeah, fuck yeah. The first song's about fucking. The first song he fucking blows himself up when the cops show up to his house to raid his house. He blows himself the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? And then he.
That's the interlude.
Yeah, that's the first one. That's the very first song.
Yeah, 2005. Wow.
Yeah, that's the first song. It's about fighting the police once it all comes to a head,
And
which is
then-
fucked up because, and this is why it got fucked up, was because that was before that's before the Poplawski incident happened. And that's before this incident with the sovereign citizen happened. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. There's a lot
and
of
these types of-
barricading
these types
issues
of-
in
yeah,
Pittsburgh.
but that's what the song was about. The song was about, you feeling like you have this idea of what the world is supposed to be and what is sensible and what is right. And then the bottom line being the law. And that, no matter what you believe, they're coming. You know what I'm saying? And death is going to be the only way. So that's why the name of the song is Conquer or Die. It's because, the philosophy is either going to conquer or you're going to die. There's no in between. And that's what you see with these types of situations. So that's what that song was. So that's very political to me. The second song, or so the interlude, that was the intro, then the second song. Then the third song was the heavy metal one, where I talk about, me being from Southside and having a manifesto about how corporations are fucking corrupting the world and how, I'll be fucking their daughters and all this crazy dumb shit and how time is going to, be the only thing that brings justice to these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? That was the third song. Then the fourth song was when we started experimenting. I talk about hip hop and how hip hop's lost its political edge and how we are, at the time we were into materialism and that was the philosophy we were being just led by, and then I get into that fucking stupid party song that you mentioned earlier.
My favorite one.
I fucking hate that song.
Love it. So great.
I fucking
What's it
hate
called?
that song.
Something dance?
Shake some.
Shake some?
Shake some. Yeah. I
Shake
fucking hate
Shakerang.
that song. But it was, I had a guy on there that was a legendary guy from my hood. Like I appreciate the song for what it was, but like I would definitely not have.
But like my
I don't
favorite
know.
Wiz song is, Ass Drop. So I like that club kind of thing.
I-
Although the new one is incredible.
His
I don't know if
new
you heard
shit
it yet.
is so
But
good.
the,
Oh, listen to all of it. His
no, the
shit-
new one that they released last week or the week before, it's about Oakland. It's all about different Pitt football players, basketball players, and he tells all these stories with Chevy.
No,
Phenomenal.
I haven't checked it out yet. I gotta check that one.
Take him to the O. It's called.
Oh shit.
Take him to the O. And then
Sounds wonderful.
and then he drops the secret in the later on where it's like when I say O, it means
Original. Yeah. Dirty O.
take him to the O.
Take him to the O. That's fucking great.
I'm like I used to take him to the O for
I
a
take him to the O.
large cheese and
Yeah, large. Yeah. You gotta get the fucking fries, man. The fucking fries.
basket of fries.
The fucking funniest thing about the O was that you would get a small fry and they would give you the small little fucking carton, but then they would come out with like a fucking double wide large fry, the whole basket just dumping on this little ass thing. You're like, what the fuck is going on? There's no way you can even eat a small, but then you get a medium and it's like, you're feeding the household for a week.
It was the whole basket was a
and then
large.
the pizza was fucking also
so
huge.
nasty though.
It's
It was
also
all like
huge.
greasy and just wow.
And then the bathroom,
bathroom
in that
down
place.
there. You had to walk down the
You
stairs.
gotta fucking mention.
And you slip like 8 times trying to get down there because it's just grease. They're
It's
just
another fucking
dumping
dimension.
the grease down there.
They definitely did on the stairs.
It was all graffiti down there too. I
for
remember.
sure. All
yeah.
the punk, but it was punk scene because Laga used
Yeah.
to be over there. You see,
Oh yeah,
Laga.
sure. Well, there's a lot of. I mean, was it not Rock Room?
Club Laga.
Yeah, well, definitely Laga. Decade was in Oakland.
Yeah, that was the other one.
There's a few. I was talking recently about doing like a punk rock tour of the history of Oakland.
You got to talk to Oyo Ellis for sure. Talk to
Yeah.
him first. That'll be the guest that you got to grab for that. Shout out to Oyo, man. Fucking amazing.
Yeah, there could be some. I feel like that could be a fun
Killer of Sheep band was that's a huge deal.
because that's Garage Door Saloon is where Decade was.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Laga is now apartment complexes that
Right,
we
it's
used to
nothing.
party at.
It's nothing.
Well, it's just apartment complexes, nice ass apartments with a beautiful window in the front that we used to party at in
So
college.
nice. So nice.
They were nice.
It's so nice.
Yeah, you could have a keg in there.
That's what, we used to, that was, I mean, of course, I didn't go to college,
Right.
So I used to infiltrate all the colleges. So I went to all the colleges. I didn't go to any of them. I went to all of them.
That's what I did in high school.
that's
So
what
in
I'm
high
saying.
school
Did all
in
the
Ann
big-
Arbor, I grew up in Ann Arbor and I was partying at University of Michigan. Then I would go to Western. Then I
Yep.
would go to Michigan State. And I thought that there was something else out there for me. I said, I got to get out of this Ann Arbor college scene. I'm sure there's something cooler. So I went to Pitt and it was exactly the same.
Well, that was
Fraternities. And
my friends that I grew up with were really cool. And they were the ones who kind of figured that formula out. There'd be like 5 of us. We go out there and just infiltrate the schools, like I said. It was
yes. Yeah, the infiltration was the best part.
I was promoting at that time. So like this is before social media. So like I had to promote the project. So I would my boys were so cool. Shout out to everybody, shout out to Jerron, shout out to Rob, Keith, Justin. and Mike OPT. We used to go over to Oakland and Liquid. We used to go over there and fucking rock out with these guys, and I would just plaster the entire neighborhood with the posters for my album and shit. Got so many sales like that though. So
That's huge. I was gonna make this point about Bonix earlier. Was that you were talking about how you knew he was gonna pop, and for me it was when I was flyering with him because he had this show coming up, and he absolutely did not have to promote it at all. There was no requirement. Nobody told him you have to sell 20, 100, whatever tickets.
Mm-hmm.
He just took it on himself and printed out the flyers. And I went out with him and we were putting them up around Oakland to just make the show better, just to make sure more people came. And I knew right then that he had this work ethic that was not going to stop.
He's obsessed. He was always about this. Like, this was why. The same thing. That's what I was talking about earlier. Was like, you just know. Like, there's people that just, this is what they're about. This is what they're fucking here for. This is what they're gonna do. That's what it's for. I'm like a late bloomer. This project I'm working on costs hundreds. It costs a lot of money. It costs fucking tons of money. It costs more money than any music or rap project coming out of the city. It costs more money than fucking any art that I know of really coming out of the city, except for I don't know how much the orchestras cost.
Expensive. They have good sponsors.
Right, they have sponsors.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate to link up with somebody that was one of the original investors in Imagine Dragons, and he believed in my project enough to toss me some money for that. So.
I just tweeted about Imagine Dragons.
You did?
Yesterday.
Yeah, well, there you go. So.
I wrote, Imagine Dragons is a terrible band with a worse name.
Hey, but they made money. You know what I'm saying? They made money. The guys that invested in them made some money. So
good. Yeah, I'm glad they made the money, but my God, what an awful name.
Imagine Dragons.
It makes me want to vomit.
It doesn't make you want to imagine dragons. You're not imagining dragons.
It goes
They're
with your
great.
necklace.
They're great. Their music, that does not go with my necklace. What do you know about my necklace? What do you know about that?
It belongs in like a little Dungeons and Dragons.
You think when you see pentagrams that belongs in Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah. Oh.
I can say that I have never seen a pentagram used in Dungeons and Dragons.
Really?
Ever once. Never. So where did you come up with that?
I don't know. It just reminds me of the occult and like mythical.
So Dungeons and Dragons, I guess, back in the 70s during the Satanic Panic, the Dungeons and Dragons was looped in with Satanism.
Very
there you
much.
go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. So that's where you got that. That makes sense.
Maybe.
That makes perfect sense. But yeah, that's not what that is. That's not what that is.
Wow. Phelan.
Yes, sir. Dr. Gold.
So who's Cynik Lethal?
So that was the production name. I used to write Cynik as my graffiti name back in the day, which I can say now because I got arrested, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? That shit ran for years on the bridges and everything. It was great. And Lethal, I went to a party once back when I was a kid, and there was like this rocket scientist guy there, and he was like, it's a bunch of my mom's friends, whatever. And he was like, yeah, this guy's mine, man. He's fucking lethal. I was like 13 or something. And that just was like, oh, your mind can be lethal. Yes. And so when I became older, those were just, I slapped them together. So Deadly Philosopher. Plus, I was a fan of the Deadly Scraps. So, like, it just kind of made sense to me, Cynik Lethal, So,
my buddy, I'm trying to get on this podcast really bad. One of my favorite MCs from Detroit and now living here in Pittsburgh, but I can't really out his, like, real name. But he used to have a rap name, Mystery Inc., which was then, it was like cynical thinker, hypocritical drinker. He used some of those. It was interesting.
Well, there you go. But yeah, mine was just, it was a combination of that. Meant Deadly Philosopher. The mind is deadly. The seeking of truth of life. You know what I mean? And finding that truth might be deadly. And the pursuit of that truth is deadly. So that's what the name is about. The Cynics were a group of Greek philosophers that were all about just the truth of life and getting to it despite how you feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck how you feel.
Fuck
your feelings. This is what the truth is, Adjust your feelings to the truth, not the truth to your feelings,
Wow. We need more of that.
Well, that's what the name's about. That's where it comes from. So I've actually been thinking about a rebrand lately because my name Phelan is, I am who I am, you know what I'm saying? And people are like, oh, your name's Phelan. That's fucking, So that's a lot easier than Cynik Lethal. Like, what the fuck is that? So I was thinking about it. I don't know. We'll see.
They both kind of set you up for a life of crime, right?
Yeah, but it is what it is. What is crime? What is crime?
Thought crime.
What is crime? Thought crime. Are you feeling, cleric? Are you feeling?
the flick with Tom Cruise,
Oh, that was
Minority
yeah,
Report,
that was a great one. But it wasn't. The one you're thinking about is
with the
actually,
dolphins,
But the one you're thinking about is actually
1984, thought crime,
that's a good one.
but it's a book.
Equilibrium.
I don't know that one.
Christian Bale, man.
Oh, I love
You never
Christian
seen
Bale. We
that?
were talking about him earlier.
Fucking Tetragrammaton. Are you feeling, cleric?
Is that what that's from? You know, that's my favorite podcast right now.
the Tetragrammaton.
Yeah,
That's what that's from. It's from that movie.
Tetragrammaton.
Well, I mean, you
is-
know, it means word of God or name of God. Tetragrammaton.
Well, yeah, it's the Yud Hey Vav Hey.
Yeah, I was about to say it's the
So-
YH or the Y.
Yud Hey
Yeah,
Vav Hey.
yeah.
Jehovah.
Jehovah.
It's the unpronounceable name of God and the holiest name of God, according to the Jews.
You don't think that Hashem is a holier name?
No. Hashem just means the name.
The name.
It's
Okay.
much less holy.
It's the name. All
And in fact, it's so unholy. It's holy, but it's so unholy.
It's so unholy.
that
The
we
name of
use
Hashem.
that. We
Right.
say Hashem
Hashem.
in order to substitute for one of the holier names when we're praying.
Okay, good. Because
So
that's what
if
I'm saying.
we
Like
say-
we're always saying Hashem in the prayers. Like it makes no sense.
Baruch
was-
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam is the start of every prayer in Hebrew. And a religious Jew would say, Baruch atah Hashem.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
instead of saying Eloheinu, the same thing, Hashem.
Right.
So the name.
Well, that's what that comes from.
Shaddai is another of the names. There's 7 holy names. And so Shaddai, I think, is one of the, it's, he is the one or something like that. And Eloheinu, Adonai, Yud Hey Vav Hey, which is the unpronounceable.
Right.
But Jehovah's Witnesses, right? They
It's
pronounce it all the time.
It's unpronounceable, but here's how you pronounce it. Here's the the syllables.
Well, interestingly, there's no vowels. So in Hebrew, the script is written without vowels.
Well,
But in order to do it formally, you have to add vowels underneath. There are
know-
little dots on
you know
top
what
and
it
on
is?
bottom.
I think that it's music. It's musical. His name is not to be pronounced because it's a musical thing. It's actually notes. So it's a musical combination. That's the language. So like when I went crazy and went through all this crazy shit, like I ended up in a shul with a professor and a guy named Mikhail Schulman, who is a rabbi and a teacher. And he, kind of confirmed what was happening to me at the time and was like, okay, like I had instructions. It was a whole thing. That's a whole nother conversation. It's a whole podcast just about what
No,
went
I
through.
want to hear about this.
But
But that makes so much sense that it's music, right? Because that's how the Egyptians built the pyramids, is
Well,
using
that's-
vibrations, right? They were
Mhm.
able to vibrate. They
That
were able
wasn't
to
what I
find the
was-
natural harmony of the
No.
of the substance, and they were able
No.
to elevate and vibrate.
No, that wasn't what I was shown. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. That wasn't what I was shown. What I was shown, I'll tell you, since you want to get into that, what I was shown was Indians in India. I was shown they had instruments that were weapons, and I was shown that. And that was the most interesting thing I saw was a battle where they could control men and control animals and like split trees and shit with like these fucking weird instruments. That was like something I saw. So that was a thing. But as far as building the pyramids go, they literally just used sand and water and, physics to build the pyramids. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, if you believe that they're 4,000 years old,
They're older
which
than
they're
that.
not.
They're older than that. Yeah. So, but
It
they
was
are.
from a time before the civilizations that we know.
Well, let's talk about this. Here's an interesting thing I wanted to ask you about. You see in the news today the aliens and all the UFOs and all this crazy
We
shit.
don't need that.
I just wanted to get it out. Just wanted to get it out there real quick. Just so it's out in the
No.
in the world.
No, I don't mean we don't need to talk about
Okay,
it.
I
I
was
mean,
about
we
to
don't
say.
need the aliens to explain the technology that's on Earth,
What if-
probably,
okay, but what
but
I'm
maybe
telling
to
you is-
explain life itself.
No, but they won't. So they're not aliens.
We're the aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's us. So what have we done? Look at our technology right now, right? As our technology advances as humankind, what do we use it for?
War.
Okay. But we, as a human, like we use it for war, sure, but we use it to find our history, to discover what happened as accurately as we can. And as technology advances, humankind, for some reason, can't let go of the past. We just cannot let go of the past. We have to know what came before us because that is what's going to shape what happens in the future, right? So what happens in the future of Earth, thousands of years or hundreds of years, whatever, when humanity is different than it is now? And they have technology that's different and more biodegradable than the technology we have now. And we have biotech and things that you just, in quantum tech and shit that we just don't know right now, right? What happens when we break time? You only break time once, right? So when you break time with your technology, it's like the internet. It's not just one civilization that can do it. It's everybody at that time can do it. And then everybody after that time can also do it because the technology exists, right? So what the fuck would you do with that? If you could break time, you're going to go back in time and see what the fuck happened, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to do paleontology, you're going to do archaeology, you're going to do geography, right? Or geology. And so you're going to see what? Now, the way time travel works in real life is you can't change the past. You can't, because whatever happened, happened, right? So if we were able to take time machines and develop time machines and go back in time, right, to see what happened in the past, just to record it, not even to do anything, not to fuck with anybody, not to fucking do anything, just to see what the fuck was going on because we want to have it for our own, human history recordings.
Yeah.
What would that look like if you can't change the past?
You
It would
change
mean
the future.
no, it wouldn't. It would mean that there's already evidence. And what would that look like? That would look like the same technology, the same piece of technology, all throughout human recorded history, all throughout the world. You would see the same thing. Stories of technology from the sky, advanced beings, fucking not doing anything. They're just there. They just fucking show up. And what are they doing? We don't know. We see them come out of volcanoes. They're coming out of the fucking ocean. Oh my God, they're near the nuclear bases. They're at the war. Every time there's a national disaster, there's a UFO. Yeah, because they're recording the shit that happened, you idiot. They're just seeing what happened.
That's us going back in time.
Yes, it's all just us. Why aren't they fucking with us?
We're the gods.
Why is it when they go back in time, right, and that crash happened in Africa, what did the aliens say to the school kids? They said, take care of the planet. They didn't say anything else. They just said, take care of the planet. If you had rules for if something were to go wrong in the past when you're back there doing shit, right, what is the interaction you're allowed to have? What are the rules? Because they're like, don't fuck with people, right? All you're going to say is take care of the planet because that's all you need for anybody in the past to do. You don't need them to do anything. Everything's already done. So why the fuck do I want to talk to somebody in the past about what, right? What do I have to say? I got nothing to say to you. Take care of the planet. See you later. I'm out. Fix my shit. I'm gone. Same shit that we have on record is what the aliens said to those kids. So like, the technology we're developing right now tells you what's in the future. So like, oh my God, little gray men. Okay, we're developing biodrones made from human cells. They're not going to have a gender. They're not going to have a color. They're not going to have a sex. They're just genderless.
That's also us. That's what we're becoming, right? A giant swollen head with very minimal sense organs, no genitals.
Tall and thin. As we become a spacefaring people, right? What does a human born on the moon look like? What does a human born on the way to the moon look like?
Yeah, minimal muscles.
Minimal muscle. You're gonna be skinny like me.
Yeah.
You're gonna be very tall.
Because you can use an avatar. You can use an avatar to do all of your motor tasks.
You can have a biological drone that you don't have to risk human lives sending them back in the past. God knows what the fuck happens. I'll send the biodrones.
Sure. Because
like
the only thing that matters is consciousness.
And they're not that intelligent. The gray aliens can only do what they're programmed to do. Like, how intelligent do you want them to be?
Oh, so the grays are drones.
They're just drones.
The little green men are
just drones.
Are intelligent.
No, there are no little green men. The little green men are the same. They're just drones.
All of them are drones.
Yeah, because they're not going to send yourself back. So let's talk about this. If you did send yourself back, so once you can send drones back, so you start with technology first. So you see unmanned vehicles coming back first. That's what you'll see. Then you'll see droned manned vehicles coming back, right? Because then it's like, okay, well, can we manipulate things? What can we do? You're going to try to push a little bit farther because that's what we do. Then if we later on down the line, which it doesn't happen, like you have to understand, like I was trying to tell you in the beginning of this part, is once time is broken, it's broken. So like,
it's like the generalized AI. As soon as we have that singularity, it's over.
Right? It's over. Same thing with the internet. Who controls the fucking internet? You don't. So that technology isn't going to be controlled. And what we'll see is, you'll see maybe a more advanced human coming back. You know what I'm saying? So then you're going to get stories of highly intelligent people that aren't quite human, but look almost human enough to fit in. You know what I'm saying? You'll get that. And what do we have?
Is that the faceless man or the gray man?
No, that's the tall whites. It's the tall whites, the Nordics. So this is what I'm saying. These things make sense. They're not aliens. You know what I'm saying? It's not aliens. We are primitive.
We're the only intelligence in the universe?
What I saw when I went crazy, and I keep saying I went crazy, that way I have, I don't have to worry about people being like, oh, he believes this shit. No, it's just what I saw. I don't know. What I saw was that we are not the first, but that our purpose is to spread life throughout the galaxy. That's the purpose of humanity, is to spread. And then that gives me a philosophical thing where I'm like, well, are we cancer? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we cancer? humanity. And that's what I wonder about, because as above, so below. So just because we can't see with our microscopic technology yet, we can't see, like we use electron microscopes, but we haven't gotten down to like, we don't know if maybe there's something even smaller than a fucking electron,
Smaller than a quark.
smaller than a quark.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know. We're there. We're developing it. But what I'm saying is like, we might find these galaxies are quarks. You know, like maybe we are in a cell. Like maybe everything is just this infinite fractal fucking thing. You know, but I know that our purpose is to spread life because that's what we do. That's what we do. We can't seem to preserve life. If our purpose was to preserve life, it wouldn't be so destructive, right? So what have we always done? We've spread it. What has humanity done since its inception? You know, in the caveman days, like it's just spread all over the earth. Now it's spread through the earth. Okay, we're done here. We're just gonna fucking spread to the moon. Oh no, we spread to the moon. Okay, now we're spreading to Mars. All right, oh, we found a planet that's habitable, fucking 2 light years away. Now we have technology. Let's go spread over there. Fuck it. And that's what we do. And we just keep consuming and destroying. Like, I guess maybe we are the cancer.
What's the point of the universe if there's no intelligence to witness it?
We are witnessing it.
But if we're cancer, if we're negative, if we're
I
net
didn't say that was negative
well, cancer isn't a good thing.
for us, but we have our limited perception. Maybe cancer is necessary. You know? Maybe there's a balance. That's what this means. You asked what this means. This means balance. You know, we don't always understand the balance.
The Vitruvian Man.
What?
Vitruvian Man. That's the Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, the Leonardo da Vinci. Right.
Yeah, Vitruvian, I believe.
No, but I mean, like maybe, you know, like I've lost friends from cancer and shit. You know, I'm sure you have. Everybody has. And you know, you think about like, why did this happen to somebody that was so good, or you know, why does this happen to people that you know, you like, why didn't it happen to somebody bad, or why didn't it happen to this and that, you know? And you have to reach a point of like, you kind of let go and realize that there is some balance that's greater than you. That maybe this happened here, but you know, somebody was born here. You know what I mean? Like you just never know. You
There's
know,
cancer cells in all of us. It's immunological surveillance that's taking place. There's killer T cells that are always monitoring and patrolling for abnormal neoplastic cells.
Mm.
A single cell is no problem. There's hundreds of cancer cells inside of you right now, but they're being surveilled at all times by these killer T cells, and they're being tagged and destroyed.
Well,
Whenever your immunological function becomes compromised because of poor diet, exercise, genetics, then you lose the ability to take care of those problems.
Also, you know, you think about population control, you know, and like
That's a theory.
there's no, well, not like, oh, it was an engineer, you know, we need population control. I'm just saying, like, we don't have any natural real predators anymore. You know, like there's nothing but like sickness that really,
Unless we're in the ocean.
that less takes us out. Yeah, of course. But even then, you know, what, sharks, fish, whatever the fuck. But
Murder soup.
murder soup. But I'm saying, like, we don't really have those natural predators, so that becomes that for us. So the cancer, you know, the virus, those types of things. So like, I want to go, why? But then you have to let go and be like, okay, well, it's greater.
Do you think that we'll live much longer in the future?
We have
Hundreds
to,
of years?
We do. You mean like personally, or do you mean
Right,
like
each
humanity?
individual.
Okay, I was about to say
Like
humanity
200
obviously
years.
survives.
And
No, yeah, for sure. I think that using technology, we will. Like, I think that now that we've discovered what makes things age, we are able to reverse that. I know that there's technology now where they're reversing aging in mice. I know that they are able to say that, okay, the reason why people age are because of telomeres, and now they're going to have technology that will be able to manipulate the length of telomeres or restore telomeres or do whatever they have to do there to, you know, prevent cell deterioration.
right.
And so using technology, yeah, I do think that. And I also think that it's not just biotech, but mind tech that will allow people. I think that once we discover what actual consciousness is, you know, because that's a huge thing right now, especially with the advent of AI. Once we discover what that is, we will then have to choose, like, okay, well, where does my identity lie? Is it with my body? Do I need to keep my body young and like, do I need to spend the money to keep myself young, or do I need to keep my mind sharp and my brain sharp, and then be able to have enough money to download my mind into, or upload my mind into this, you know, this cloud that then I can choose whatever physical form I choose to have, or choose to exist digitally in a digital realm.
But isn't that what we're doing right now? It's
That's
like
what we're
a
on the
little
way to.
upload.
That's
No,
what
no,
we're-
me and you right now. This conversation. This is a little mind upload, right? That's how I think about it sometimes.
Right.
Just like putting a little bit of my mind into the internet.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't believe you fucking you let us have these conversations.
This was one of the coolest ones for sure.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. No, you've like really seen a lot of things, and obviously you have thought about this a lot, right? You've thought about life, and you're
It's because of death. You know, I lost what, like 30 something people in the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years at least, and that's not counting the living ones. I lost a lot of living people too. You know, shout out to all you motherfuckers, all you living friends of mine that don't talk to me anymore because they thought I was crazy.
you're
Which I am crazy. They were right. You guys did well. It was a good idea. I hope you're better now.
I think that you're a real artist, and that you've overcome a lot, and that you're a real asset to Pittsburgh. I'm glad you're here.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to get this done. You know, I'm going to be releasing the merchandise. I plan to do a lot of live shows with jazz bands, so you'll be seeing that, where I'll be hosting that. You'll see the ritual, where I am continuing to bring money and put money into the pockets of Pittsburgh hip-hop artists and introduce, you know, crowds to artists that are kicking ass here. I got visual artists that I have at the ritual. I have got music artists. We've got movement artists. So you're like, oh shit, I didn't know that girl was stripping. I saw her at the ritual. Now where does she work at? I'm there, you know? So the ritual brings money to local brands, local artists, and local venues, local establishments. So it's been a good thing all around. You'll be seeing that. I think we're gonna do it October 31st. This year, because I'm spending a lot of my funds on creating the cartoon, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to run like a whole season of the ritual like I normally do. I think we'll do Halloween and we'll do New Year's. Those are like our two big events that we do that like everybody's at. So we'll probably see that.
So it's a money sink. It's not something that you make money off of.
No, we make money. It's just that I had a building when we first started in Oakland. And then, like I said earlier, I think the owner had an issue with the chief of police there. So any business that starts there is going to be shut down. So they shut us down there. I was fortunate enough to run it at Hollywood Lanes. I bounced it from there. That was cool. Shout out to Jeff Park. Then we bounced it to Dijla in Lawrenceville. And that's where we've been very successful. Like Lawrenceville has been coming up over the last couple of years. So it's convenient for people to go there. We enjoy hookah. You know what I mean? So it's great to have that there. I've been having Me and Panada do our catering. So
Nice.
shout out to Ivan and Me and Panada. They've been providing the food. I've been having a lot of, really dope DJs come through. I've had guest DJs, but our main guys have been Yamez and Alex Rivera. So the music has just been fantastic. And people don't make requests there. We're not playing top 40. I let the DJs do what they want to do there. So I'm just like, keep it sexy, keep it dark, and we're good. And they kill it.
I love that. Yeah, Yamez is one of my favorites. I think
He's been my favorite DJ for like, I don't even know how many years now, like a decade almost. You know?
he used to run with a dude named Cobra Crames and a crew called Gold Whistle that I used to DJ
I remember
around
that.
in New York City.
He was in the fucking Executioners.
Yeah, that's true. And he also was like Red Bull,
Yeah, it was Mr. X.
Mr. X for a while.
Yeah.
He also DJ'd for some important
Have you brought
artists.
Yamez on here yet?
He won't come. He's canceled twice now.
Well, he's
he was-
busy. He's got a lot of shit
I
going on.
know.
I'll
A lot
call
of
him.
personal shit.
I'll call him.
Thank you. He was Azealia Banks' DJ, right?
Yes, he was.
Oh.
Yes, he was. He's actually, I think, the most fucking underrated DJ here. I think that because, like, he gets booked a lot of stuff. Every time I book him for the ritual, we're packed. You know what I mean? So it's like that keeps exposing him to things. He's been dropping more mixes than any other DJ. He's fucking done everything. Like, he's done everything. The only thing he doesn't have is just, like, what the fuck? What are DJs supposed to fucking do? Like, what are you supposed to do now? You're supposed to just hook up with a national artist and then fucking go on tour and that's the end of your shit? Like,
I don't think
you're supposed
so.
to just
You're
end up on
supposed
a
to become
fucking radio?
producer. No, you're supposed to become a producer. There's no like, there used to be these things called DMC where you would
the world battle, the world
do
champions.
mixing championships.
And then what?
Digital mixing.
You win that,
DJ
and it's
mixing
like,
championships,
okay,
whatever,
I'm
yeah.
DJ Craze, and now it's.
A lot of people have
What am
won
I
it
doing?
multiple times, like A-Track, obviously
A-Track.
won twice.
But
three
again, as a
times.
producer
Craze
was
won
how-
twice, 3 times. But it took them to becoming a producer in order to break. People don't know who Craze is. Like
Yeah, because he doesn't produce the shit, whereas A-Track produced tons of shit.
Well, he hooked up with the right people and was able to get productions done.
Well, his brother
with
also.
Duck Sauce.
His brother was.
Brother's a genius.
His brother's a genius.
Chromeo's amazing.
Chromeo's.
Yeah.
He was the big producer.
White
so-
Women. Is their album behind me.
Really?
Yeah, that's the best one, I think. It's called the best song on it is called Old 45s. Goes
I'm about to say you about to play this. Oh, I thought you were about to hit the button. Like, yeah, this is the song right now.
that'd be dope. I want a replay so I can like play little samples and stuff. But it's like,
Bring my MPC if we do this again next time. We'll get more musical with it.
oh, dope.
Yeah.
Is that how you do your production now?
No, I'm using Reason. I love Reason. I got Reason 12, and use the MIDI keyboard and everything, and it's been fantastic. It really doesn't matter what DAW you use for the most part, but I do find that they do have different sounds. Like, it's really weird. Like, I find that Logic does sound different than shit I produce on Reason. That does sound different than something made on Fruity Loops. And it's not just necessarily the sounds you're using. Like, you can use the same sounds, I think, and end up with different sounds. You know what I mean? Like, you use the same kits and all that shit, but end up with a different sound using the DAW. I'm not quite sure.
It's
what
got a
it is.
different spirit. Each one has like a different soul or something like that.
Yeah, like the stuff you hear on
There's a
Reason,
Ghost in the Machine.
you complimented how it was mixed and how it sounded, and that's like, to me, when I hear that, I'm like, it sounds very like Reason. Like, I didn't use factory sounds or anything like that, but it sounds like, I can tell that I used Reason because it sounds real. If that makes any sense.
That's cool.
Like, did it sound real to you?
And
Like,
more
when you heard that?
live or something like Pro
Yeah.
Tools
Yeah,
versus
Tools-
Ableton, where it's maybe like a little more digital sounding.
yeah,
EDM.
yeah. Like that, I call it plastic. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, it just sounds less plastic. I don't know why it sounds that way. I don't know why
That's cool.
certain things do that. I've got sample packs I'm putting out. I've got merchandise. I've got all kinds of shit. So like, I've always been more of a hustler. And I think that that's what I recommend for people for the most part. But if you have kids and you've got a family and you can't take risks, like, I've invested. I've done crypto. Crypto was a huge source for me. Like, when Bitcoin blew, I told everybody I could to get some Bitcoin in 2017. And then like it blew up and then tanked. But then people that held on, like, it rose back up to 60. For a while. So that was good for everybody. I took a lot of that money, and that's when I started Dispense Magazine. I started the Cannabis Magazine, and we ran that until pandemic crushed that. My employees, everybody was just like, what the fuck is even work right now? So everybody just kind of went their own ways. But we still have the brand, and I still have it, and it's still, like, if I got an investment, I could revamp my magazine tomorrow. You know what I mean? But crypto was definitely the best way to take care of all of that.
I want to have assets like laundromats and little businesses that are just out there making cash for me all the time.
Well, that's what I'm hoping that the club will do once I get the new venue. Like, once I'm done with this
Yeah.
cartoon, then I'll be able to hopefully recoup and then use that to grab what I will hopefully have, like, my own version of the Warhol.
You'll sell it to Comedy Central or something like that.
Yeah,
and like
I
get
think
a
it
couple
belongs.
mil.
I mean,
like
you
a
watched it.
couple
What do you
clean mil.
think? What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah,
I think
no,
it
it's-
belongs on like Adult Swim, probably.
Right.
Something like that. Once it gets more mature and like, as the new episodes come out, like, they get darker and darker and darker. So it depends on whether Adult Swim or Netflix would prefer to have that. We'll see what they think.
Yeah.
So
Well, is there like a strike going on right now where you can't work with certain people and
there's
things?
no writers. It's like, there's no writers on this. I'm not a union writer yet, so I'm not a part of the WGA, so I don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Carl didn't do any writing or anything like that on this, so he's not beholden to that. He can still strike, and he's not breaking the strike by working on this or anything like that.
Got it.
There's nothing about this that's related to the strike. If anything, the strike should hopefully put us in a position as creators to earn more
Yeah.
than we were. So
Yeah.
like, rather than me showing up at Netflix. And that's another thing. Like, my situation's a little unique. Like, when you show up to these meetings, you're showing up with an idea and no budget, and you might have like a pilot, maybe. You're not going to show up with several episodes of something. You're not going to show up with a whole, like, I've got these seasons written, like, this is done, here's everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be an advantage that we have. We'll see. We'll see how the strike kills us or helps us.
You can put them on.
was
You
gonna
hate
put 'em
those?
on.
You hate that light?
This light is-
Go ahead. Yeah, the
not
light's
fucking
blinding you.
shit.
You're used to being an all-star. That's all right.
Blinded by the
I like that
light.
better, actually. It looks
Revved
way
up
more
like
like
a
you.
deuce.
In a motor in the night.
Yeah. Get that revved up like a deuce. What the fuck does that mean?
It's something about a
Is
motorcycle,
that,
right?
is that a motorcycle?
I think.
What's a deuce?
A deuce is like a deuce. She's my little deuce coupe. You don't know what I got, right?
I guess
Isn't that
I'm asking. I
a
don't know.
song about a like a tuner or something?
I guess.
Like a hot rod?
Perhaps. So there it is. Revved up like a deuce. A motor in the night.
Revved up like a deuce. You know, the roamer in the night.
Is that what he says? I have this weird
That
thing.
song's great in Blow.
I got this weird thing. Yeah. I got this weird thing where I know, like, every fucking melody and like instrumental part to all these old like 70s and 80s rock songs, but I don't know any of the words. I could sing them all. I could sing everything. Like I just don't know.
Let's go to karaoke tonight.
We could. Let's go.
Wednesday.
Get on the 12.
Let's see. Oh, 12 has karaoke tonight.
12
Let's
does
go.
it on Wednesday. Yeah.
Dude, I'm trying to think how long I've had a boss for, and I'm thinking ever since I started working when I was 13. So, I mean, when I was throwing parties for a living in New York, I didn't have a boss for like 2 years, 2011 and 2013.
You just never like invested in anything. Like I'm telling you, crypto was huge for me. That was a huge thing.
I was thinking now we could do a party
Crypto
that's
and
even
cannabis.
today we could do a party that's just crypto to get in, right?
No, NFTs, they aren't quite yet. So like if you're in LA or
Not
somewhere like
NFTs.
San Francisco, well, that's what you would use to get into the party. You would use an NFT as your ticket.
Yeah, but like literally just sell tickets and charge people like 1 ETH or like 0.01 ETH.
Yeah, but then if you were going to do that, to be a part of that community, you would have your ticket itself be an NFT.
I
See what I'm
know
saying?
people are into all that shit, but to
Well,
me,
that's the
it's
community because there's no point in charging digital if you're not going to have a digital ticket as well. You know what I mean? That's like defeats the purpose.
I just want the cash
Right, I know. You just
or
want
or
cash.
the
Just can't be so
or the
obvious about
coin.
it. You can't be so obvious about it. Like, you know what? Just show up to this empty room and just give me your coin. Just, yeah, here's a piece of paper. Fuck it.
I definitely threw a couple empty room parties in my day. One or
Did you?
two. I mean, it was hard. It was tough sledding in New York. I didn't really have the connections, and I was trying to do, I think, more than I was ready for in some ways.
I think I threw one party that I think bombed. I threw one party that bombed. It was just the
Yeah.
date. It was a snowstorm, and the date was
It's-
just bad.
Usually, when I try new venues, like I was trying new venues around Brooklyn. I was living in I lived in Bushwick, then I lived in Bed-Stuy for a little while. I was trying out new venues around Bed-Stuy, and some of them just weren't that good.
Bed-Stuy. That's what's up. I gotta say, man, I'm really excited about where Pittsburgh's at. I'm really excited about where we're going
Yeah, tell me
Yeah.
why.
because people are trying harder and they're not giving up. And I know what we're missing now. Like we have all the ideas, we've got these resources. We're missing some money, so it's really just gonna come down to some money. That's really all it is. It's like somebody who's like, fuck it, I've got enough money to risk. I've got a good idea about what is going to be good and spend the money and not need the money back like within 5 years type shit. Like that's what Pittsburgh needs. Like that's it. That's it.
Isn't
Like,
that the role of government to support the arts?
no, Austin, Texas, where I used to live for a while, the government is supporting the arts there. They offer healthcare locally for musicians and DJs and shit like that. So that's a step that we could do here that would really help things. But the problem is that the income is not quite there yet. So what we need are stronger promotion and more funding is what I think. More funding, stronger promotion. When I say more funding, not like from the city, I just mean we need more rich people here that want to invest in the arts. Because when I went and studied how a lot of my favorite things were made, like in the 80s and like the movies and things like that, and if you go and watch the documentaries on Netflix, they're not like, they didn't get money from the government. They didn't get money from
The Medicis.
they got
Where
money.
did Leonardo da Vinci's money come from? How did he
Exactly. Rich
paint the
people.
Vitruvian Man? It
Rich
was the
private
Medicis.
people.
Yeah,
Rich
absolutely.
private people. So that's the same thing I got going on, and that's the same thing that most successful people I think have going on is where they just have rich people. You mentioned Benji Greenberg earlier. That I think was one of the most powerful people I've ever met in music in my entire life, because I watched him change all of our lives just like that, and he consciously and vocally determined who was going to be what. He said that. He said it to me. He said it to everybody. He told all of us what the fuck he was doing. He said, this is how it's going to be done. And fuck everybody that's not anything, like, fuck you if you're not with us. He's like, you'll never get out of here if you're not with us.
That's Rostrum Records.
That was Rostrum Records. He said, you'll never get out of here. He said, if you're not with us, good luck. He said, best of luck if you're not with us.
And Artie
Artie
was there.
it was Artie, it was Benji, it was fucking Chad, Shout out
Chad
to all those
Glick.
guys. Yeah, Chad Glick. Chad was the fucking man. Artie was the fucking man, Benji was the man. And it was like Benji was coming straight from the highest you can come from. So he was coming from working with L.A. Reid. So L.A. Reid is responsible for everything that, so it's L.A. Reid, Clive Davis, these types of guys were like the guys that were in control of the black music industry there. So
Yep.
for Benji to come to small, no market Pittsburgh and know what he was doing here,
But he had connections here, no?
it wasn't about connections here. It was about he had all the connections outside of Pittsburgh already.
He wasn't from Pittsburgh?
Yeah, he was from Pittsburgh.
That's
He
what
was
I'm
all the guys, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is he didn't need connections. He just needed to have the connections outside of town he had to come to Pittsburgh and view it differently. And that's what happened to me. Like when I was finally able to get enough money to leave town and to live in Texas and do business in Texas, and then move to California and do business in California from San Francisco and LA, and like, meet all the people I did and do all the things I did there. Fucking like looking at Pittsburgh, it becomes different. Like you're looking at Pittsburgh not like, oh, I need to blow up in Pittsburgh. You're looking at Pittsburgh has resources that are costing me fuck tons of money over here. So I can go there and exploit it. And that's what Netflix is doing right now. They're going, oh shit, it cost me X amount of money to film this here. And then it cost me X amount of money to film this in this area. And I'm getting these tax breaks, right? So that's why now I think you're starting to see these production companies coming up here too, where we're starting to realize, even the guys from here, we're starting to say, well, why are these big guys coming in from out of town and doing all this stuff here? And I can't do it, I think we're starting to see that here. So I think that's why we're seeing the scene become healthier. And that's why I have a lot of hope for what's happening. I think once I put this fucking cartoon out, man, I think everybody's going to be like, we can make cartoons. We can make animations. Like, I'm inspired by that. So even if my shit is not the illest shit you've ever seen in your life, you know what I mean? Then like, it will still inspire somebody younger than me, or somebody that maybe thought they couldn't do it where we're at, to be like, no, you know what? If I just hold on and if I just kick some fucking ass, and stick to my vision, I'm going to make it work no matter what.
Amazing.
So
sick. Yeah, I remember Chad Glick. I truly remember the actual moment. I was at Shadow Lounge and Chad came up to me and tried to sell me on Mac. He's like, I got this kid. He's here right now.
15, easy Mac.
He's unbelievable. He's getting heat in New York. I mean, I can't remember exactly what he told me, but it was like, yeah, there's people, I'm already shopping him to some people in New York City.
See, I got
and
that.
He's already like.
I got that with Wiz. So when they were doing that for Wiz, I had that conversation during the Wiz thing. And it was like, looking back on that time, like I don't know, like I don't think I would have been ready for the things that Wiz was ready for. Looking back on it now, like I wanted all of those things, I thought that, but the music I was making was not that level. Like
it was darker, like
it was more
political.
The stuff he was making was like very, like once he discovered that, oh, I can be that weed rapper, I can be the new Snoop Dogg, run with it. Like that was a break for him. That was amazing as an artist to be able to have that freedom and know that like that's what I'm going to be.
But even Snoop wasn't Snoop until Wiz came along.
What are you talking about? Are you crazy?
Snoop wasn't talking about marijuana culture the same way that Wiz was.
Are you fucking insane?
On the same level?
I think that you're insane.
What song?
Nigga, you never heard of The Chronic?
Okay, The Chronic was a
Chronic
Dr. Dre album.
Starring who?
I mean, yeah, he's featured on it, but what
He's
song?
featured on
What
it.
song?
What
song glamorizes the use of marijuana in the way that Wiz
and then
has.
Doggy Style, everything is talking about the Chronic and smoking, rolling down the street, smoking endo, fucking sipping on gin. Like
they mention it, but they didn't make it a lifestyle the way Wiz did.
That was a lifestyle. That was it.
Kid
every
Cudi,
single day. Every single day.
Wiz Khalifa and Kid Cudi, and Odyssey.
You have to understand.
The three of them changed the game in terms of marijuana's.
No, they did not. They did not. Listen.
Significance.
No.
In the
you got to
culture.
take it. If you're gonna go in cannabis and culture, right?
That's what I'm
cannabis
saying.
culture. You got to go back. You're gonna go back to your Cheech and Chong is where you're gonna start at.
Sure,
right?
up in smoke.
Yeah, you're gonna come back. You're gonna go up to that. Okay, cool. Where was the next thing after that? You're gonna see Snoop Dogg. That's where you're gonna end up at. You're not gonna go from Cheech and Chong and end up at Wiz. You're gonna go Cheech and Chong and end up at Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube and that whole fucking thing. They were smoking fucking weed. That was part of the culture. It was just what we did. Like that's just how it was. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like this is something to be.
They weren't able to get it legalized across the country the way that the current movement has.
But the movement is not responsible for what happened, I don't think.
How can you be sure?
Because where were they when I was writing the law? They weren't there. I was there. You know what I'm saying? I was in the room writing the law with the people who were writing the laws. I was the one working on the amendments. I was the one there with them. I was the guy who was involved. They weren't there. So like, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
But don't you think that the music made a difference? Don't you think that it impacted people's impressions of what this is and the fact that it's actually the safest drug, the fact that it's much safer than alcohol, the fact that it helps a lot of people, that it is medicine, that it's very clearly not the demon marijuana, that word, which is so racially charged.
But you don't think that
was in Reefer Madness.
But you don't think that everybody
40s.
Already knew that. You don't think that it was like, see, when it comes to cannabis, it was like, the public already knew everything. And now we're waiting for the government to catch up. And we had a lot of pressure on there. And you think that the music, you're saying that the music did that. You think
music
people didn't
helped.
know?
The people didn't all know. The music helped.
Bone Thugs. They were another one that was all weed.
Bone was big.
All weed.
You want to talk culture. Let's talk about John Sinclair. Let's talk about the White Panther Party and the Hash Bash in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I was growing up.
I don't know about it. I'm unfamiliar.
Check it out. That's High Times Magazine.
Oh, okay.
That's Yeah, it's worth checking out.
Okay, I'll definitely. I mean, I know
Dave
about,
Chappelle on
I was
stage
about to say, I know
with
about,
John Sinclair, Hash Bash 2003. It's a whole thing.
but again, these are, like I said, it's like it's not just any one like thing. Like all of these things combined.
It bubbled, right?
Yeah, all of these things combined to do that. So like to take it back, when you say, "Oh, Snoop Dogg wasn't really the weed guy until then," like I completely, fully disagree with
disagree,
you.
yeah.
Completely disagree with you on that. Like completely, 100%. Like Dave Chappelle and what Dr. Dre did and having weed leaves was 2001. He had a weed leaf on the
his
fucking
album,
cover.
right?
The name of the album was The Chronic. The whole fucking thing was about everything. Like everything
It's
was about it.
mostly about lifestyle in South Central LA is the way I would
Oh,
describe
rather
it.
than making it so.
It wasn't
but even
about
then, Cypress
marijuana.
Hill. Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill, I would say, did more. I would say Cypress Hill did more
And
than
Be Real
Snoop.
was like one of the most influential people in cannabis in California.
I think so too, and I think that the way he embraced it was bigger. I would say, but now it's hard to know because of how big he's become with his.
But I will say that
series, hotboxing with
just to clarify, we cannot I'm not taking anything away. Well, I'm just saying I'm not taking anything away from Wiz's contribution to the cannabis culture. Like,
amen.
He is definitely
huge.
So I just don't want that to be misunderstood or anything like that. I'm just saying that I'm disagreeing with your statement that before Wiz, Snoop wasn't that. Snoop has always been that guy. Is what I'm saying. So
for sure, and I think that the connection, the fact that Wiz was able to get on board with
genius.
Snoop, absolutely.
That's the marketing. That's the team that we were talking about.
Well, I think that changed the game for him, right? Because it allowed him to be accepted by an older generation.
Absolutely.
Before it was very much just the kids, but he was able to break through that and become cross-generational, multi-generational by tacking himself onto Snoop.
That's true. I mean, there was a lot of really genius moves.
High Dollar Sign, I think, was a great one.
I mean, the acquisitions of Juicy J was that was amazing. You know what I'm saying? He's done a lot of really cool shit. He's done a lot. We could sit here and talk about all the cool shit that Wiz has done. He's done a lot of really cool shit. You know what I'm saying?
KK.
That's my favorite weed. When I lived out in San Francisco, I was a part of the Cookies Collective, and that.
Oh yeah, Burner! Shout out to Burner!
Shout out to Burner!
That's a genius
right there.
That
was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Cookies was one of the ones that I was fucking with for a while over there. So that's how I was getting all the KK and Sunset Sherb and all that crazy shit. Cadillac. A purple Cadillac. This is this is back there. The KK it was actually the best weed. It was my favorite weed out there. So it wasn't oh, I'm from Pittsburgh and Wiz is the best. It wasn't like that. It was just this literally is the best fucking weed. It was the best weed. It's the best. I liked it a lot. But yeah, shout out to all of them. Shout out to everything. Excited for the scene. Excited for Pittsburgh. Excited for the future.
The venues that I'm excited about. I like Mixtape. I think they've been doing some cool things.
Yeah, that was a really cool. That was a really cool
obviously Brillo is doing a great job. Always
legendary.
And
Spirit, got to shout out Spirit.
Oh, Spirit is amazing.
Because Spirit's where
they
the Shadow Lounge became pretty much Spirit. Justin gave them the blessing and all that, and all that shit that used to live at Shadow Lounge lives at Spirit.
The spirit of Shadow Lounge
is that Spirit
continues.
Maybe that's why they called it Spirit. Oh my God. Oh my God. Ah!
Ah! Let's end it. Phelan.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for doing it, man.
Thanks for inviting me.
Lethal.
Hey.
Phelan. How do you pronounce your last name?
Barreiro. Phelan Barreiro.
Phelan Barreiro.